So the really funny thing is in some of the really early like Midtown photos, we're all wearing turtlenecks. Who wears turtlenecks?
Welcome, everyone, to This Was the Scene, the podcast that takes a look back at the late 90s, early 2000 punk scene. I am your host, Mike Doyle. Midtown was a pop punk band from New Brunswick, New Jersey. It was formed by basically Gabe and Rob, and then they coerced Tyler in the band, and then they got Heath in the band, which is a really funny story of how they did that. But you can hear more about who Midtown was if you go back to episode 3, listen to me do the intro about them then, and Heath's interview. And if you're listening to this podcast, you pretty much have you pretty much know who the fuck they are. They're a band I've talked about many times. I've talked about my insane jealousy of their success when I was in my band Lanemeyer back then 20 years ago. And it's funny to me now that I got Heath and now Rob on this podcast, and they're like just really great guys. And I wish I would have known them more back then, because I think I would have been less of a dick. And we'll talk about that in this interview. The funny thing about Rob is that, me and Rob really didn't know each other that well or like at all back then. He talked to my drummer Sean more than anybody. And when I launched Heath's interview almost 2 years ago in March of 2018, I posted it to the North Jersey pop punk group, and Heath tagged Rob, or he tagged him somewhere. And then Rob reached out to me through Messenger and was just kind of like just talking to me about the interview. And then we got on the phone because he said, has Lanemeyer put out Stories to the Big Screen? Is it available on Spotify? And I said no. So we got on the phone. And then all of a sudden, he wanted to put it out on his record label, I Surrender Records. And then he put out that record on vinyl, which we still have available. If you go to isurrenderrecords.com, you can buy it there. We just became really good friends ever since then. Like, we'll talk here and there, but every time we get on the phone, we talk forever. So basically, this interview is just me and him having our regular conversation, but we happen to record it. And then it does follow the structure of the podcast, but you'll just hear just like two dudes just bullshitting. It's really funny. It was a really fun time, and I'm really excited about how this came out. So luckily, I finally got him, like I said, on the phone, or Skype as I typically say. And this is what we chat about. Constantly playing your favorite songs on repeat, the bands that influence Midtown, writing really high notes in Lanemeyer. His first band wasn't Professor Plum, which I totally fuck up in the interview because I thought it was, but it was, you'll hear. Meeting Josh from Humble Beginnings, how Midtown formed, Gabe's usage of big words in songs, buying CDs with friends and dubbing them for each other, which I thought was a genius idea, which I don't know why we never did that. J Pinball, Newfound Glory, their first album being amazing, Vinnie from I Am the Avalanche singing background on a Midtown song, Phoenix TX and Drive Thru Records, almost getting fired from the band, being roommates with Max Bemis, which is crazy, and a ton more. Go check out his label, I Surrender Records. I have a link in the show notes. It's isurrenderrecords.com. Also check out his Instagram, Bodega Cats of Instagram, that you can find on Instagram. It's got 227,000 followers, and it's pictures of cats that are in bodegas. It's really interesting and has a huge following. You can also check out his website, which is bodegacats.nyc, where you can buy merch and go support that. Now, before we begin, thanks again to everyone who bought merch, and just people were donating. And I didn't ask for donations, but I just really figured people buy merch. But I was getting a colonoscopy, and I needed to pay it off, and I ended up doing so. So thank you very much. That was really awesome. I know it's really odd, especially if you just started to listen to podcasts of a guy who's hosting it starts talking about getting a colonoscopy, but I really needed help and I don't give a fuck. So that really helped. That was great. And thank you again. Thank you. If you want to support the podcast, you can go to thiswasthescene.com. There's a donate button. You can buy merch. And there's also just $1 a month through Patreon, where it's $12 a year. Every month, your card gets hit with a $1 deduction. And that goes to help support this podcast and keeps this thing going. And Rob Hitt loves how I say this, so it's comparable to getting 3 or 3.5 cups of Starbucks coffee. That's it. That's how much it takes to support this from one person. So please do that if you want to. If you want to sponsor the podcast, just email me at thiswasthescene@gmail.com. And that's it. I'm just going to jump into this. So feel free to subscribe, leave a review, and share this with anyone who would love some punk rock nostalgia. With that said, let's get started.
Didn't shut down. I can't even imagine what my thumbnail or whatever icon would be on Instant Messenger. It'd probably be something corny, like a little checkered ska guy or something like that.
Do you still like ska?
I don't really listen to like I don't listen to ska music, and in fact, I probably haven't in 20 years. But um, for my 40-year-old life, I heard this band about a year ago called the Interrupters. Have you
Okay.
heard of them?
Nah, sounds sounds familiar.
Yeah, it's like at least for me personally, because like I wasn't as into, super into No Doubt. Like I totally got it, but at that point it was already on MTV, and I wasn't super into the Distillers because that was a little, after my time. But I'm like, if you took the best of all those bands and you had like Tim Armstrong produce it or whoever produced it, that's the Distillers. It's like the more
Hmm.
the more rough parts of the
Wait, that's the
music, and
Distillers or that's the Interrupters?
that's the Interrupters. So
Okay.
it's really funny because like I was like, there's this band. I'm like, oh my God, this is great. And I've been running a lot. I just started running, really in the last year. And I was like, oh my God, this is the perfect music to run to because it keeps your heart going and it's cool. And it's kind of like, how Rancid isn't ska music and somehow Rancid could get away with playing ska music and being cool, but every other band who's a ska band, there's like some kind of stigma attached to it because you're into ska music. That's
Yeah.
like the interrupters get the non-stigma part of being able to throw ska stuff
Are they
into their
are
songs.
they a new band or are they like an old band?
No, they're new, and that's the funny thing because when you get older, you're kind of like, all right, I don't listen to the new stuff. Like I'm not really listening to like modern baseball or whatever,
Yeah, I never liked that band at all.
Well, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying like I'm not
I'm
saying that I
saying
like
it.
them or dislike them. Yeah, but I'm just saying I never got super into it, right? And there's a whole scene designed around bands like modern baseball today. So I'm like, okay, I'm just old now. I'm like, maybe I'm just missing new music. And then I heard this band, The Interrupters, and I'm like, this shit is great. I'm like way into it. So I feel like a little kid again, which is kind of nice because it's been a while since I've heard a band that's made me feel young.
I like finding music now where I'm recording, by the way.
Oh, thanks.
You've heard these episodes, you know this,
Yeah,
Chris.
yeah,
I've
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I've what was I gonna say? I like it when I can find a band today, like any kind of band where there's a song that I just can't obsess with. That's my favorite thing. I remember when I was a kid, there'd be some. I think "Smells Like Teen Spirit" was one of those songs where once I heard it, I couldn't stop listening to it. I think before that, it must have been like the hair metal songs. So there's always a point where I hear a song and then it's like I need it all the time because I get this like high off of it. Do you ever get that? Have you ever had that
Oh,
happen?
okay. I not only do I understand that, and not only do I get that, but like what I can't fully understand is that I have friends that they watch a movie and they love a movie and they'll want to watch a movie again, and I'm like, I I've seen the movie, I don't want to see it again. Like in
Yeah.
fact, I'm not even interested in watching any movie or series again. Listen, Seinfeld, Curb Your Enthusiasm, The Office. There's so many jokes you miss. That's a different story. But in general, like any movie, you want to watch it again. And I don't want to watch it again after I've seen it once, like pretty much ever.
Yeah.
If I hear a song that I like, and I'm like, oh my God, I want to hear it again and again and again
Uh-huh.
and again over and over again. If it's like a great song, right? And I don't fully understand why is it we can listen to a song 30 times in a row and somehow not get totally exhausted from it.
Because it's
But
short. It's a short thing. It's only like a minute or two of your life, but there's something. I think there's a dopamine trigger. For me, it's usually like a note that's hit, or if it's a note that's hit combined with a line. There's a song, Saturday Supercade. They yeah, they have a song. I found it. They had an album they put out before they broke up, and I want to find a way to interview like Chip or something. I don't know if he would do this, but there's a song called New Home, and it's about his dad. I guess he grew up without a dad, and it's like a really heavy song. But there's like a moment where he hits this like note, and he says for what does he say, for an hour. He's talking about drinking. He's like, so for an hour I forget about this, and like it hits me so hard because the note is so good, but that line is just like there's something so powerful about that for me that
Yeah.
I like, oh God, that just gets me. Like it just it's so good. But
Yeah.
there's always, yeah, it's like, but you'll waste that, not waste the time. You'll spend that time listening to songs over and over because there's just like that the chorus is repetitive and you want it, it's like you get that dopamine high from it or that thing from it and you're like, I need this again. So you're sitting there just like a rat, just like pushing the button, getting the heroin, getting the heroin.
Yeah, I think also, now that we're talking about it, the difference between a movie typically and a song, at least, we'll say for the most part on the punk rock level, and ideally, music in general, is that songs, come from a very personal place, and potentially when they're written, they're written really intimately. Like, I've even heard you say this, like a great song can literally be written lyrically and even like the bass music in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's the song and it's a hit. Now, when you're writing something in 15 minutes, usually it's pretty personal and real and honest. I guess honest is the word. If you're watching a movie on TV, it's gone through so many edits
Yeah.
and so many people reading the script and the
That's a
this and the
good
that.
point.
It kind of misses where music comes from a really honest place. And not to say that movies aren't, because you see documentaries and things like that, and they do pull out the strings, and every once in a while we might cry and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
I think like that's what makes music so special. I know we're obviously, it's not just that we're in a different world, because I used to think that with big hit songs, it's so different now. Everybody has songwriters. And then you go back and you look and you're like, oh my God, Bon Jovi, Aerosmith, like all these bands that I thought at the time in the 80s when I was growing up were like, they were the band.
Yeah.
They're all co-written. They're all
Really?
co-writers. Like, oh yeah, Bon Jovi, Aerosmith, all those kind of bands. They're all like written with other people.
I would
Yeah.
expect it from Bon Jovi. Not Aerosmith. I felt that they were so that would be their thing where they wouldn't let anybody in. I mean, I think later on, after like the 90s when they started doing real like hits like Crazy or was it Crazy? Yeah, like when the Alicia Silverstone was in every one of their videos, that their whole sound changed from the whole rock to that
Hmm.
whatever the fuck it came. But I
Yeah,
think
yeah, yeah.
that's when I didn't think like
Love in an
initially.
elevator. So bad.
I remember
Like,
watching
oh,
that when I was a kid. I
yeah.
was so like, because I was a young male in, I guess I was 6 or 7 or 8, and that was like, I mean, it's just like they're portraying just sex for the first time on TV because it was all the girls in the videos were just like wearing nothing, and they were just so sexual. I remember as a kid going, I don't think I'm allowed to watch this. I think I've said that in many episodes where looking at something, I'm like, I don't think, I think if my parents came down, I have to quickly change the channel, or this is weird, but it's also great at the same time.
No, see, it's funny because like I totally get that. I grew up. I was kind of, apparently, like, people don't know this term. I was a latchkey kid. Do you know that term, latchkey kid?
I've heard it so many times, I don't understand it. Actually, this is a
Yeah.
good way to start. You talking about you growing up. So we're just gonna. I think I'm gonna like keep the structure, but I'm also uh just gonna let this roll because I like this so
Okay.
far. So Latchkey Kid, yeah. What the fuck is that?
So I think anybody who's kind of Gen X, right, which is, something we didn't talk about back in the day, is that like every generation now has a different name and they
Yeah.
focus millennial, Gen X, and now boomers are like getting their shine because all the kids are making memes of like, okay, boomer, and
Yeah.
or middle class fancy is like this Instagram account that all my friends follow, which is basically ripping on boomers and things like that. But
Cool.
so
I'm checking that
so
out now.
I guess being Gen X, I think Gen X people know the term latchkey kid. It's basically, this was when, in the 50s, 60s, 70s, divorce wasn't as popular. And then when you hit the 80s, it was like, that's when everybody started getting divorced and it started to have a little bit of a less like negative connotation with it. And it was just more of life. So what a latchkey kid is, basically a kid who's growing up with one family, doesn't really have any siblings or anybody else around. So the latchkey is like they're kind of just coming in and out of their front door whenever they please because there's nobody
Yeah.
home to really monitor them.
Oh, okay. So I technically guess I was because my parents were divorced. My mom would be working, so I would come home from school. When I was in elementary school, it was different because my sister was home. But when I was in middle school, my sister was in high school. I remember just coming home and just like the door was always unlocked. So
Yeah.
I would just walk in because we were in this neighborhood in Jefferson, New Jersey on this cul-de-sac. There was no crime. There was no reason to lock anything. I mean, I remember when I first moved out to, I think, LA, or no, it was LA. Like we moved somewhere. I think me and my mom, we moved up the street to this condo, and that's when we started locking the door, I think. And I was
Yeah.
so confused because I'm like, we never locked the door. What is this? Like we're not living in
Well,
some like real beat up area where we had to do that, and it was never even on my mind.
no, it's funny you say that because, and this is really just relating to your podcast right now. I'm just, whatever. But
That's fine.
there was this 10-foot pole song that was always like, and they never locked their doors. And I was just like, oh man, I can really relate to this because I remember when we didn't have to used to lock our door and I just
Yeah.
came home and now we have to lock our doors. I get you, 10-foot pole. That was good. So it was
I
kind of
get
that
you,
thing.
Scott Rabinski.
Yeah. And I like baseball and you're a pitcher. That's really cool, man. So,
Yeah, I remember
but
finding
yeah,
that out. I remember this is jumping all the place. I remember real briefly. I remember finding out that he was the pitcher for the Dodgers, and I'm like, this guy has the greatest life. He gets to pitch for a team. I didn't give a shit about the Dodgers. I'm like, but he gets to. I think it was like thinking financially wise. I'm like, this guy's fucking set. He plays for the Dodgers. He just makes a shit ton of money, and then he gets to go on the road and be playing a punk rock band. It's like this guy set himself up fucking nicely.
he he is the idol for somebody like me as a eighth grader freshman in high school. There's absolutely no question about that.
Did you ever meet them? Did you ever meet Blake Pulley when you guys were on tour?
Never met Pulley. So one of the interesting things
Oh,
is
Scott Radinsky. God damn, I said Rabinski. The people were probably like, you said his fucking name wrong. Radinsky. Sorry. Sorry, Scott
how dare
Radinsky, if you're listening. That'd be awesome if you are. Go on.
you. So in terms of Midtown, we didn't, other than this one tour called the Deconstruction Tour, which we can get to, which is
Mhm.
interesting.
Yeah.
We didn't, sadly, because this was basically our idols. Our idols growing up were like Fat Records bands, Epitaph bands,
Yeah.
and a lot of those artists were from Oakland, San Francisco, and Southern California. They had their whole thing, and which makes sense because that's where the label was, so that's where they found them. Obviously, there's always exceptions, but it was a funny thing that we never got to really interact as much as we would have liked with that whole group of artists. Because like I just remember Gabe, the singer of Midtown, like, oh man, when we started, it was all about Lagwagon. We loved Lagwagon.
Really?
It was all about no effects.
Yeah.
He used to have this massive car. Oh my God, I can't even. It was like I don't know if it was a Crown Victoria or one of those massive Lincolns, like you'd see a 75-year-old man with a caddy hat wearing, or one of those like Kangol hats wearing. He had a car like that, and he would blast. He would literally take the knob of the radio, and I remember being in the car with him whenever like Drunken Public would come on and Linoleum would be on, and he would crank it. I'm like this isn't necessary. Like even me, a little punk rock kid, I'm like it was like we in Spinal Tap, it's like turn it to 11. In my head, I'm like, Gabe, there's no fucking 11. You need to stop this right now. So I
Like
don't
I'm
even know
going.
where we're going with this.
That's
But
fine.
it's just in my
I'm
head.
like I said, I'm deconstructing the normal thing. The other day I was at a bar with my buddy. Speaking of just loud, and I am gonna structure this in somewhat, but we're at a bar. It's a barcade here, just kind of like the one in
Hmm.
Brooklyn. I guess there's one, but it's
Yep,
this
right down
this
the street from me. It's literally like 1,000 feet from my apartment.
Okay. Well, this one, they're on their own, and they crush it. This place is always packed. So we're there on Friday night. We're getting drinks, and my buddy turns and he's talking to someone, and he's literally 2 feet from me, but he's facing the opposite way. I couldn't hear a word he was saying because the music was loud. The
Yeah,
place was loud. I'm going, oh my God. All of those moments when I was growing up and cranking music through my headphones or in my car, this is now it's catching up, and I'm losing pitch. And
yeah.
it's and like playing shows, I never wore earplugs.
Uh-huh.
I think the Lanemeyer show we just played, I think I didn't wear. I wear them when I'm in the crowd, or if I'm watching a band now. I always have them with me because I mean, my head starts to hurt because
Yeah.
it's so painful. So
So
I don't
yeah,
believe I don't. It's like growing up. It's like anything. Grow up. Like eat vegetables. Obviously, you're vegetarian, but it's like eat healthy and do exercise and don't listen to music too loud. And you're like, oh, I'll be. I'm invincible. And then you get older. It slowly starts creeping in, and then you catch it, and you're like, wait, I can't reverse this. This fuck. I should have
yeah.
listened.
So what's real interesting about that, and it's extremely ironic. being a drummer,
Oh
I
yeah.
by default always wore earplugs
Yeah.
because I was so close to the snare drum, and like I wasn't a great drummer, but I hit pretty hard when I hit hard, and like I'm just like I had to have earplugs in because it would literally hurt if I didn't.
Yeah.
But if I weren't a drummer and I played guitar or bass or sang, I'd be a little further from the drums, and I probably would have just not worn earplugs. So if I
Yeah.
didn't play drums, my ears would actually be terrible right now. But
Well,
thank
technically,
God, like for that reason.
I mean, technically, like your ears are pointed. I mean, I have big ears, so like they're pointed out. So so in my head, it's kind of covering the sound is coming it's going out, so I'm not staring at the amp. I don't know, I could be totally
Mm-hmm.
wrong, but what the fuck is that with drummers always having to hit hard? That's the always the thing. I always said they're like, oh, I gotta hit. Like Sean from Lanemeyer, he was obsessed with always having to hit hard, and I'm like, why is that such a thing?
So part of it is like, I think, I don't think we consciously say this, but it's like, it's your testosterone, it's your masculinity,
Uh,
you're hitting hard, like,
they're paying
like
attention to you now because it's
you
hard to
think it
get.
makes you,
Yeah, it's hard to get people to like. The drummers always get they're in the back. They don't really. There's very few drummers I've ever seen where they are almost like the front men because they're so
yeah.
engaging to watch.
But the
Like,
truth
yeah,
is, if you're out front of house and you're in a punk band and you're playing like a 100 to even 1500 capacity venue, like your drums are bleeding through to the front of the house. You're giving the front of the house mixing person, zero ability to actually mix the vocals and mix the guitars. And as you know, you're playing a VFW hall.
yeah.
Like the sound system isn't that good, and maybe I'm even overstating to say it would ever be good.
Oh, it's a giant piece of
So
shit.
yeah, so that's why you go to these shows and you can never hear the vocalists because it's not just the drummer. And I'll say this firsthand. It's like, why do you need two like whatever they are 4x12 two 4x12 Mesa Boogie cabinets
It's
that
true.
you're cranking? You're playing to 300 people, bro. It's like, come on, like nobody's gonna hear anything. You're not gonna hear the vocalist. So
Yeah, that was the thing. We always blew our voices out. Me and Chris, like we never. When Chris quit the band, I took voice lessons and finally learned how to really sing. I mean, I grew up singing in high school. I was always in choir and stuff, but it was the basics. But when I took voice lessons, I'm going, oh wow, I didn't have to. I can actually sing now, so I want to I didn't want to have to drown my voice out because I couldn't hit notes. And with Chris, like when we were in Lanemeyer, he wrote really high notes and he could not hit them. Like I think after he quit the band and did the Date the Fair, he took voice lessons. But we would crank the music so loud because we were like, we don't want people hearing how bad we can't hit these fucking notes.
okay, well, let me tell you something. It's real interesting you say that. One of the things that I really liked about Lanemeyer, I didn't like the fact that he couldn't, hit those notes. But
Yeah, me
to hear
neither.
him struggling to hit those notes, because that was like, to me, that was part of a signature of Lanemeyer, honestly.
Yeah,
Like, I consciously remember thinking that back then, but I also remember, like, oh my gosh, it's so endearing and honest hearing him try to reach for those notes and then
interesting.
get that note, and then catch it for that one split second before it goes out of tune on the way back down of the note. And no, but I'm not like, this is totally not a hate. This is
No,
like,
I
I'm being
know.
totally
I
serious.
no, I'm totally. I know you're totally serious. But yeah, that's interesting because it was.
It
I
made
mean,
Lanemeyer feel very real
yeah,
to
I
me.
mean, it was. We were. Yeah, we're definitely. I'm not talking about Lanemeyer the whole time, but it was. I think between Chris's lyrics and him's he really was struggling, and then talking to him in this interview and finding out how much he hated playing shows. I mean, that was struggling too. It's like, damn, dude. It's like that's pretty vulnerable. It's like, and I'm forcing
Isn't
him
that
like,
amazing? You're in the same band and you
yeah.
learn so much like
Oh
20
yeah.
years later.
I
Yeah,
I couldn't have not have had worse communication with my band members, thinking back.
yeah.
And all right, so real quick, since we're like 20, I love this, but this is funny because every time me and Rob have gotten on the phone in the last almost 2 years now, we will talk for hours, and like we never talked really a lot ever back in the day. Like the one time you and I had that the longest conversation we had back then. Well, actually, there's two times. I think one time we were pulling up to Allendale, and I think we were talking about At the Drive-In or some band. I think you and I were having a conversation about that, or you would talk to Sean a lot, right?
Yes, that's 100% correct.
Yes.
See, listen, two bands, I guess for the podcast, for whatever reason, and I think it was more Lanemeyer feeling it than Midtown caring, but Lanemeyer and Midtown had a little rift.
Well, it was based, yes. It wasn't in front of our faces. It was us on the back end talking so much shit or just like mad because you guys were killing it and we were just mad. And I think I've had it said so many times, but I was mad at Gabe because it's like I felt that I lost a friend because we were all friends when he was in Humble and we were all hanging out, and then all of a sudden we did Midtown and it was like I always felt that he just it's like growing up and you're friends with someone in elementary school or middle school, and you go to high school, and all of a sudden they just go off and they're friends with a different crowd, and they kind of like don't recognize you anymore, and you're like, what the fuck, man? I always felt that way for some reason, and I'm sure it wasn't real, but yeah, I guess
No,
there was like kind of a
it
rift.
totally makes sense. And like, it's just, people in general drift apart, whether it's music, trying to reach their goals or whatever. But like, as a drummer, me and Sean are like, we're just fucking drummers. It's like, so we always got along. We're like, we'll let everybody else deal with all the hate. There's no reason we can't be friends. Screw everybody else. So I always got along with Sean, and I always liked Sean a lot. But, I guess before we really dig into the podcast, I say this to you. We reconnected because Heath from Midtown, I think, did your third episode or something like that, whatever episode it was.
Yeah, number 3.
And then you and I, which we can get into, started talking. And I'm like, this really sucks. I'm like, this frigging guy Doyle, you probably would have been like one of my best friends in the scene.
Yeah.
Like and I genuinely mean this. And like, because since we've, reconnected, we'll literally, like you said, get on the phone for 2 hours and talk. So truthfully, this isn't a podcast. This is just people listening to our dumb conversations that we have.
This is exactly that. This is one of our long conversations that we're just like inviting people to listen to right now. Well, that's the funniest thing because like when the Heath interview happened, he tagged you because I posted it in the North Jersey Pop Punk group, and he tagged you, and all of a sudden you responded. And I'm going, oh wow, Rob, I haven't talked to him in a while. And then you like messaged me because I think you were like fact checking some of the things I was saying in the interview. You're like, oh, here's like more of that story. And then you said, hey, you were like, hey man, have you ever thought about putting out stories for the big screen on Spotify or something like that? Because I can never find it. And I remember, and this was like right in the beginning. This is episode 3 of the podcast, and then that happens. Melissa from the Bergenfield Girls, she hits me and goes, hey, would you guys want to play a show? It was like within weeks, all of this stuff came together. And I'm texting Sean going, yo, dude, Rob Hitt wants to put out stories on Spotify, and he's thinking of doing it on fucking vinyl. And Sean's like, what?
Yeah.
Because I think I had interviewed Sean at that point too, and that's how me and him had lost touch for a really long time. And now again, like me and Sean talk like all the fucking time again. Where that's like the benefit for me of this podcast. Like, sure, it's fun, but like reconnecting with Sean, and then like you and I talking, and then you got on the phone, you're talking about the vinyl thing, but we would just go off for fucking hours. Where I think one point we're like, we were both like, all right, dude, like we really need to get back to going to do work or something because we could just do this forever.
I've got a life. I got to make money. So, but no, the truth is, when I reached out to you about, and I think everybody listening has actually had this experience for like pretty much the last 10 years. I've, like random times, like once in a blue moon, like I'll be like, oh yeah, Lanemeyer. And then I'll go into Spotify, and over all this time, I'll be like, oh, it's not there. Maybe I'm just like typing it or spelling it wrong, but like I could never find stories for the big screen.
Yeah.
And the only other band is, well, I guess it happened a few times with other bands, but like I would also go and try to find the Humble Beginning songs to try to like listen to them because I wasn't, at this point, I'm not listening to MP3s anymore. I'm streaming music. So I'm not going to like go burn a CD or whatever that I probably sold, 20 years ago. Anyways, just saying, sorry, Humble. But the thing was, it's like, I was like, all right. So when I reached out to you, because I Surrender Records, my little record label, I was like, I didn't reach out because I was like, oh, let's put this out and get some notoriety, make money. I was like, no, I wanted to put it out so I could listen to it and listen to it streaming and put it in my Spotify playlists. And that's exactly why after the stuff with the Lanemeyer release, I'm like, I hit up Jeremy and Jeremy hit up Josh from Humble. I'm like, listen, this isn't even available. Can we just put this up so I can listen to it?
Yeah.
So it was really a selfish personal thing. So I could listen to all of your music on Spotify, since that's pretty much what I'm using while, on my iPhone or whatever to listen to music while I'm going to work.
Well, my favorite thing too is that so Rob spent, there was some money spent here. There's money spent on I think the most of it was for the vinyl, which
Correct.
which definitely has not been recouped. So if you guys want to buy vinyl, go to isurrenderrecords.com and check out Lanemeyer and buy the green vinyl. It's got etching on one side. It's got a lot of artwork that I did, which is just always a collage of photos. But Rob basically, like his label with him and Alex and Gabby, like they have their, they have an account with money, or they're just out of their pockets. They did this, and now Rob has this on Spotify. How many times have you listened to it since it's been on Spotify, by the way?
Are you trying to figure out if I'm going to shortchange you on the royalties that you haven't recouped anyways? Is that what's going on?
No,
here?
because I'm saying
I'm kidding.
if you went that much effort and it's all of a sudden you're like, oh, good. It's because sometimes people will do something, go, oh, it's there just so I can have it, or they're going, oh, I finally got this, and I'm gonna listen to it over and over again. It's like when you're thinking, I'm gonna buy that thing and I'm gonna use it all the time, and once you get it, just sits in the corner of your apartment, just like collecting dust.
Yeah, listen, honestly, probably a max of 10 times.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie. I listened to it enough after we mastered it on MP3s and WAV files. I listened to it enough, I think, for a lifetime. So
I think my favorite thing is that. So "Fuck You and Your Boyfriend's" a song, my first punk song I ever wrote for Lanemeyer. I did write one. I said that was the first song I ever wrote. I did actually write a song in Congress of Cal that we never played, but "Fuck You and Your Boyfriend" was technically the first song that was put out that I wrote, and that song I think has the most streams because this kid on Instagram was a skateboarder, used it as a background song, and he got like a million, what was it? No, 100,000 views of this video, and all of a sudden these other skateboard kids started using that song in their videos, and then there was this spike on Spotify for the "Fuck You and Your Boyfriend" because that kid did that video. And I'm like, this is 20 years later. It's crazy. It's like that kid, that song that blew up for you guys the other day,
Lincoln
on TikTok. That is a catchy god. I added that to my Spotify playlist after you
awesome.
showed me that. But it's so random how like social media accounts, one person's account just having it in the background, and all of a sudden there's this younger crowd that it catches fire with them, and then they want to replicate it and do it, and then you're like, great, keep doing that. That's just driving up our streams. That's awesome.
No, it actually makes me wonder sometimes, and I wish we could like have some foresight in this. But if Spotify were around in the early mid 90s, up and through now, like how many streams will Linoleum have? Would it be like 100 million streams?
Just by
stuff
Gabe
like
Saporta.
that.
All by Gabe Saporta. Okay, so let's go back for a second. So Rob has so many things where he grew up, got involved in the Jersey scene. Professor Plum was your first band, right?
No.
Was that? Wait, what did you drum?
I love that you said that because this guy Mike Scher, I forget, I don't know if he was the bass player in Professor Plum. We actually, Midtown, unrelated to my first bands, Midtown took out Mike Scher as one of our merch guys on tour, and we were so terrible. We made him get up on top of a table at a Dunkin' Donuts, and he always did a really bad, like, white man's robot, like when a white guy tries to do the robot, and we made him do it in front of a full Dunkin' Donuts for everybody. So, with the guy from Professor Plum. But
wait,
I digress.
Why did you do this?
Because we were at a rest stop and we were in a band and we were bored, and we said, Mike, get on the table and do the robot for everybody. And he was standing on the table, and he was in Professor Plum. No, I was not in a band called Professor Plum.
Wait, what was the ska band you were in?
All right, so we're digging deep. This is usually stuff.
How did I fuck that up so bad? God damn it!
So I guess we're really good friends. No,
fuck you.
So I was in high school, when I was getting into punk rock. I was actually, before I was even in a ska band, I had started this, with a bunch of friends locally, like super day one, just got like drumsticks and like, let's be in a band because I wanted to be in a band, not because I wanted to be a drummer. And I had, these four other friends. We were in a band called -5, and, we lost one of our band members. So we couldn't be -4 because that's silly. So we just kept the band name -5. But our first show ever was in this girl, Jen Frana's backyard. And we were so nervous. We're like, okay, all the cool punk rock kids in the backyard, they're all going to be there. So we got to cover one Screeching Weasel song, one Operation Ivy song, and then we'll do like 3 of our original songs. And, you know, they were all short, so our set was still only 15 minutes or whatever. But that show, the headlining band was One Nature.
Okay.
And the band that played after us was Dilemma. Dilemma was Benny from Gaslight. He was the drummer. So
Oh, wow.
I remember Benny was 12. I was 15. I had just started playing drums. And it was just one of those like shows. Like, of course, the first show you ever play in a backyard is the one where the police come and shut it down. So I don't even think One Nature finished the end of their set or whatever.
Yeah.
But that was my first experience. And I'm just like, oh, I guess this is punk rock. You're just always avoiding the police. It's like what everybody always says about it, you know? So, you know, so like time goes on and, you know, ska starts to become a thing, whatever. And I'm working at ShopRite, which anybody from New Jersey knows what ShopRite is.
Wait, where? Which one? Which one?
Hillsborough, New Jersey.
Okay.
So the guy that works next to me is this guy, Jeff Lapadula. He's amazing. He owns all these vegan restaurants in New York City now. He's awesome. We would literally, just like you and I would talk for 3 hours, we would be at 2 cashier registers next to each other and just talk constantly for 2-3 hours while we're working. And as if we were in school, the customers went to the managers and told them to separate us so we couldn't be on the cashiers next to each other. But because we were so friendly and because we were just like best friends at that point, we're like, oh, let's just start a band. We both we would go to ska shows in the city and all this stuff. So he's like, all right, it's 1995. I got a great band name for you. I'm like, all right, lay it on me. He goes, Ska Skank Redemption. And I'm like, whoa, you used ska and skank in one band name. That's it. Let's do it. So, and literally.
Dorks.
Yeah, thank you. I'm like, talk about a checkered past. So I'm like, all right, let's break out the suspenders, bro.
Oh, God. Let's get our Vespas.
So we had that band name, and like, this was just, you know, our local band, right? And it was the kind of thing where, like, now, even though you're in high school, the band started playing all outside of Hillsborough, whether it was like Edison Rec Center, Manville Elks Lodge. We'd be the ska band that would play with 25 to Life. Like, I'm pretty sure we've played with 25 to Life, you know, stuff like that.
Yep.
And
Rick to Life, that was his name, right?
Rick to Life,
yeah.
ricktolifeonahorse.com or whatever the URL is. You should Google that if you have never seen that before.
I'm going to do that now. Okay,
you have to. Everybody has to do that. And so what happened was, you know, this is how I meet Tyler from Midtown, because he was in a band called Nowhere Fast. This is how I meet Heath from Midtown. He was in the band from Tyler. This is one of the interesting ways that I met Gabe when I was like really young at Josh Scott Dicker's bar mitzvah is kind of how I met Gabe, believe it or not. I'm Josh, the singer of Humble Beginnings.
Yeah.
But what happened was like, so we started playing all these other shows, even though we're just like a local high school band. And so I'm meeting everybody, and I'm in a band with like 7 dudes, right? I'm like, I can't get any of these guys to practice. It's real hard, you know, like nobody cares about the band except for like me and maybe my singer. So I'm like, oh, okay. Well, what if I like these people apparently, they clearly don't want to be in a ska band. And quite frankly, I didn't want to be in a ska band either because it was a little embarrassing. Like you said, quote unquote, dorks. And no hate on ska. I still love ska music. I love the Specials and Desmond Decker and it's the Maytals. And, you know, I love so much of it. But it's just like, you know, listen, I'm still in high school. I'm still trying to find myself. It's like, I can't be that guy. And I ended up meeting all these people. And I'm like, you know what? I just want to be in a band with a bunch of people like me that actually want to like try hard and make it and practice and see if this can become something. And that's kind of how the idea of not being in the ska band happened and like wanting to do Midtown. In addition, and like really the main reason beyond all that was musical tastes change. You know, I just started going hard with the punk rock. And
wait, so
whatever you want to call it, whether it's pop punk, punk rock, emo, whatever you want to call it.
So wait, so how many bands were you in before you were in Midtown?
Oh, just my little high school band, and then the ska band. I will
What?
say this though.
What the
Yeah,
fuck?
I will say this about the ska band. When we went to Rutgers, when I got to Rutgers, I still had the ska band, and Midtown was about to start. And I'm like, let me just give it one more chance because we had just recorded the ska album with Eric Rachel and Steve Evans at Trax East.
Yeah.
And for us, this was like a big deal because these guys recorded, Lifetime, Saves the Day, all these bands that, we love, that I loved at this time. And so we did that. We had an album come out, and I was like, okay, I was at Rutgers, and like there's like the student activities board or whatever. We were able to get on a show with Less Than Jake and the Eclectics. And I said, listen, ska bands, listen, Ska Skank Redemption. If there's any time for us to ever change this terrible, embarrassing ska band name, it's now with this Less Than Jake show. So we were the epitome of a ska band. We were like anti-racist, DIY, fuck record labels, women's rights, like you name it. We were, vegan, vegetarian, whatever. Like all our songs were about all of those things. So like,
It's because you wanted to fit in, or because you really believed it?
No, we 100% believed it. Like there was no question about that. It was very important to us. I mean, this is, it's still a formidable year of our lives for like that period of time. So it was very important to us. So we're like, okay, so what's our band name going to be? But we do have these values. So we ended up calling our band The Royalties.
Royalties.
Which was,
God damn it. Yes, I knew. Okay. Yes, I just got that
Yes.
mixed up with Professor Plum. Go
And
on.
the royalties, the idea behind that was like kind of like a fuck you to the music industry. Like we had songs about being DIY and stuff. So like basically the record labels don't pay you money and you sign to them and you get screwed. Listen, we had no clue,
Oh, the royalties.
honestly. But that's like you would read about it even at that point in 97. You could start reading articles on the internet or in fanzines and things like that. So we're like, okay, we'll call ourselves the Royalties. We got a show. We changed it. We told everybody at the Less Than Jake show. And of course, we like break up one or two shows after. Interestingly enough, when the Royalties were ending and Midtown was starting, I actually played a bunch of shows doing double duty where Midtown and the Royalties would play together. In fact, I'm pretty sure there was one show where the Royalties played after Midtown. So Midtown was that early on.
How did I miss all that? Because I remember when the first time I think I ever even met you or remember meeting you was because you were in Midtown, and then prior to that, because I knew I knew Heath and Tyler because they were in Jesus Christ,
Nowhere Fast.
Nowhere Fast. Thank you. They were in Nowhere Fast, and I remember seeing them play at the church in Bernardsville, the Bernardsville church. I think it was a show I saw them playing. And then all of a sudden they were in the band with Midtown with you guys, and then they're like, oh yeah, Rob was in the Royalties. I was like, I have no idea who this fucking band is, but apparently because you played like two shows, it sounds
Yeah,
like.
that's true. Yeah, we played like 5 shows.
I also
after we
thought
put
that
our
you guys
album.
were like you guys were a ska band.
No, the Royalties were totally a ska band.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
okay. God, why? Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, granted, this is like 20 years ago. I was talking to Andy Munn from Whippersnapper. His interview is coming out this week, and he's been listening to a lot of his episodes. And Pat was the drummer because we were trying to get Pat on it, but he couldn't schedule it. So he listened to, I think, Lobster Records, and Pat's like, he's like, how does he not know about this? How does he not know about this? And Andy goes, dude, he's like, there's no information out there for me, referencing me, to like look up and like Google this shit. There's like no wiki. I mean, yes, obviously I can look up a ton of information on Midtown, which is helpful, but I also just like know you guys and know the band. But like the Royalties, there's like there's nothing out there where I can put things together and go like, oh, here's this whole backstory of this shit. It's like I'm learning this stuff like in real time.
Yeah, it's true. It's hard. It's hard, from that beginning 7 years of the internet, because I've even tried to find some stuff not only on the Royalties, but if I'm looking up like old Midtown dates, I'll be like, because the other night I was like, what was the name of that venue in Minnesota? We played there with Motion City Soundtrack in Midtown, and like maybe Reggie in the Full Effect. So I'm like
Wow.
putting all these search terms into Google, and I'm coming up with absolutely nothing. And all I really wanted was to find the name of the venue. I didn't care about the show itself, but like that's how hard it is from that era and moment of time to like kind
Yeah.
of hone in. It's like whatever websites there were, they're just even on the Wayback Machine. This page where you can go
Yeah.
back and look.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
still, it's hard to find stuff.
Yeah,
So
I've done that a couple times. I think I did that with like the old Lanemeyer website, and it's just this funny promo shot of like us down a stairway looking all serious, and it
uh,
just it's like shows coming up. It'll mention all these Jersey venues and
mhm.
Legion halls and shit. So okay, so yeah, typically I go like, I mean, obviously this is a whole different structure, but I love this so much more. So royalties play for 10 years, break up.
The Royalties were a band like 2.5 years. We've spent way too much time on a high school ska
So
band.
then, so how was the transition from that point to getting to like what was the conversation? Because I got Heath's side of it where he was at Rutgers and he was talking to Gabe and they're like he like shows up and it's at this diner or a parking lot and it was Tyler and you and Gabe
Yeah,
and they're like, hey, you guys are like we want to start this band. So what was your viewpoint of that? Like
right.
how the band came together?
Yeah, so for me, since Gabe and I actually started the band, it's a lot more clear, right? So when I was a little kid, like listen, punk rock, whatever, like I'm as atheist or agnostic as anybody gets. Punk rock, that was my religion growing up in terms of core values, right? And
Okay.
and how I understand and believe. But so like, but I went to Jew camp like for years over the summer as a kid, right, in Massachusetts, and the fact that I went to that camp, I only went there because my sister was going there from before we lived in New Jersey. So the people from where we lived in Maryland were shipped to this Jew camp in Massachusetts.
Shipped.
So when I'm 9 years old, 8, 9 years old, this kid, Josh, at 9 years old, we're both 8, 9 years old. His dad was the doctor at the camp. So the only reason the kids from Jersey wouldn't normally go to this camp, I only went there because my sister was there. Josh only went there because his dad was the doctor. So what would happen is after the summer, all the kids go home and they all know each other and they all get together. And I felt like kind of like, oh, I'm this outsider because everybody knows each other, but I don't. But Josh lived in New Jersey. So what happens is I'm like, all right, so me and Josh are like, this is like I said, 8, 9 years old. We're literally like writing letters to each other, leaving messages on our voicemails and everything like that. He's like, why don't you come up to North Jersey to West Orange and hang out? So I go and I hang out and they're probably 12 years old, 11, 12 years old at this time. And like to put frame of reference, I'm 42 years old now. So that's a long time ago.
Yeah.
So I go and I go to Josh's and he's there with this like tall, lanky guy, very outgoing personality who's Gabe, and this like kind of slowish, metally drummer guy. And they're like, oh, we have a band. I'm like, oh, that's funny because I'm starting this, little punk rock band. So Josh got into punk rock, and that's where I met Gabe at his house, like randomly when we're in middle school. I think in middle school or maybe like freshman year of high school at best.
At Josh's
So
house?
I met Gabe at Josh's house
Yeah,
then.
I remember that house. It was in not Westfield.
West Orange.
No, it wasn't West Orange. It was right off of 78. No, God damn it, 46. I don't know. This makes no sense to anybody listening, but what fuck is the name of that town? All right, go on. But I've been to
Okay.
Josh's house multiple times, so that's just crazy. All right,
You'll
his old
remember at
house.
3 a.m. in the morning and you can text it to the entire podcast. It's
Yeah,
fine.
I'm gonna look it up. I'm just gonna interrupt you when I figure it out.
Yeah. So that's, where I started to meet Gabe and connect with Gabe. And, and it was even around the time of like, I actually went up there around the holidays once and they're like, Josh's family had a holiday gift for me. And it was a cassette tape of Nirvana's Nevermind.
Oh
It was
wow,
like the best holiday gift anybody could have given to me in my entire life. If you think about it,
hell yeah.
Nirvana's Nevermind because I had known the band and loved the band, but I was watching it on MTV. I didn't have any of the music on me other than the radio. So, and like, So like this was like really important stuff for me in my life, being connected to Josh that way. So what ended up happening was over the years, like I love Josh. Like, don't get me wrong. We reconnected, which was really nice when you did the reunion shows
Yeah.
a year and a half ago with them, with Humble Beginnings. By the way, Josh is the singer of Humble Beginnings, if it wasn't clear. But so we would do that, and but Josh wouldn't. I'd call him and he like wouldn't call back anymore. He wouldn't write letters back or whatever it was that you did back in the day.
Sounds about right.
I'm like, but I really liked the guy. Like at one point in time, he was like my camp best friend. You know what I mean? Like, quote unquote, if that's even a thing. So I was like getting frustrated, and then the royalties started playing all these shows with Humble Beginnings and all these other bands, and I'm like honestly, I was like, Gabe, like, what's up with Josh? Like, I don't get it, man. Like, we were so close in all of this, and Gabe basically said the same thing back to me. Like, he was frustrated too. So in a really odd way, I felt at least, some kind of like interesting connection with Gabe on that. And at this point, not closely, but I had known Gabe since he was, 11, 12 years old, or 12 years old, maybe.
Yeah.
So at that point, like he's like, I'm thinking about, I don't know if I want to do Humble anymore. And I'm like, I can't do this ska thing anymore. Nobody wants to practice. I don't even like this new ska stuff. Like, I don't need to play this Real Big Fish, Goldfinger pop stuff. As much as I did like the hits and whatever, I always like the hits, but I was like, I don't know. So then I'm like, okay, I'm going to Rutgers. He's like, and I was a sophomore or something, and he was like a freshman or something like that. And we literally just started jamming together. Even though I was the drummer, I remember times, being in the dorm room, and he would try to write lyrics, and I would like have an acoustic guitar, and I would just be playing the same chord progression over and over and over and over again so he could start writing lyrics.
No way.
So we started to have this little thing, and, like where we were writing music. And believe it or not, before we even started Midtown, so this is 1998, I think I have the wrong band name. There was some band, and I think they had been signed to Fearless Records. I want to say High Strung, but I know it wasn't the two of them. I know it wasn't High Strung. There was these two guys from this band that we actually went and jammed with them once to like start, an emo band. I don't think we called it an emo band, but something a little harder, a little more interesting, a little, how dare I say, cooler, which is just how you feel when you're 18 years old and think that something's cool. Whether or not it is opinion for sure. That's for sure now. But so then like that didn't really work out. But then we're like, I loved Tyler, and he was awesome. So we reached out to Tyler at that point when we knew we wanted to do a band right, because we felt like Tyler, it appeared to us, at least from a distance, that like Tyler was the guy in his band that like wanted to like really go for it and care. I think care is like a really important word, that you would put your band in front of other priorities in life, where, right. And you could probably even say from experience, that's like a hard part about being in a band, because people have girlfriends and jobs and school and family, and or maybe they like comic books and that's their like passion. Yeah. So we talked to Tyler, and he was totally down for it. It seemed like whatever was happening to us personally with our bands was happening with Tyler too.
With Nowhere Fast.
So with Nowhere Fast.
Yeah.
So we started, jamming at Rutgers with Tyler, and then we're like, it seemed pretty clear pretty fast that none of us were these spectacular, instrument players. Like I was like, maybe a marginally above average drummer. Gabe and Tyler are pretty good at what they do, but like we didn't have like a Travis Barker or whatever guitar player. So Heath was just like, dude, this guy is a friggin' shredder. Like, what a dream to be in a band with a guy this good at guitar. And besides the fact that his personality is such a pleasure to be around, on top of everything, he's just like one of the best humans. So I was like, all right, there's these things called the grease trucks at Rutgers. Yeah. Gabe, this is what we're going to do. Tyler, this is what we're going to do. Gabe, you and I are going to go to the grease trucks and just happen to be at the grease trucks. Tyler, you're going to bring Heath to the grease trucks and just happen to bump into us. I swear, this is literally
Really?
as a 19-year-old kid or whatever, what we're like I'm scheming in my mind. We're scheming. It works. So me and Gabe are at the grease trucks at Rutgers. And we're like, oh, Tyler Heath, what's up? And we're like,
fancy seeing you here.
Yeah, it's like, and Gabe and I are like, oh, well, Tyler and I jam. Heath, like, you want to go with us, like, right now, ironically, to the rehearsal space? So we drag him to the grease trucks, and we literally throw him in our car. Like, you're following us. We're going to the grease truck. I mean, we're going to the rehearsal space, down the road in New Brunswick. And he basically sat there, watched us play. We were probably really bad. But he's like watching us, and I'm like, oh, he's kind of into this. Like, this is kind of cool. So afterwards, we kind of just cornered him and like, will you be in our band, please? And he was like, yeah. I was like, this is amazing.
You guys made such an elaborate thing where he was just like, and he's telling the story. He's like, I just show up, and it's like, oh, there's Gabe Sporta. Oh. Yeah, there's Rob Hitt. It's just like so everyone listening, you have to go back to episode 3 after this and listen to just Heath tell the story too. It's just funny how this all came about.
Yeah.
So you guys practice. What songs did you guys actually have at this point that were written?
So we definitely had direction,
mm-hmm.
Which ironically, after never being in the New York Times as a band, last weekend they did this whole feature on My Chemical Romance in the New York Times. It was like a 2-page spread. It was pretty cool.
Damn.
But they talk about all the influences and they go down to the song level. So the guy that wrote this, like, he must have spent a lot of time on it because there's like 20 different little mini album covers. And it like goes to like track 8 or whatever on one of the My Chem albums. And it says, oh, this song was influenced by Midtown's direction. I was like, oh, I mean,
wow.
That could be up for that person's interpretation, because I highly doubt that My Chem thought or even felt that. It might have just been happenstance. But that being said, like, it's funny that, well, first of all, that was one of the songs that we played for Heath, was Direction. But like, okay, you're not a band for 20 years, and then all of a sudden you get in the New York Times. Like,
yeah.
That's kind of funny.
Well, it's cool too. I mean, especially because you guys, I felt had a success where the tours you went on, and we'll get into that, but I mean, everyone I talk to, they'll be like, oh, who's on your podcast? I'm like, oh, I interview, like, I'll say bands. I'll be like, oh, like Less Than Jake. Oh, I know Less Than Jake. And go, oh, Midtown. Like, oh yeah, Midtown. I haven't heard that name in so long. Like, you guys had a name that like a lot of people who knew who you guys were. So,
okay.
But even to have that, and then also to read it in the New York Times, you being the band, you're like, that's fucking awesome. Like that we're mentioned in this giant.
Yeah. It's kind of cool. But
yeah.
Literally anytime at this point in my life, anybody says, oh, yeah, I know Midtown. My response question is, oh, are you from New Jersey or Long Island? And they're like, oh, I'm from New Jersey. I'm like, or I'm from Long Island. I'm like, yeah, of course you are. Because to you, it appeared like Midtown was this big band. But the reality is, other than these small little pockets across the world, which were small pockets, but they were very, it was important to them. Yeah, it was like New Jersey and Long Island. You thought we were really big. And then you leave and they're like, oh, we're playing to like 30 kids in Austin, Texas at emos, even though the promoters thought we were big.
Yeah, but I have a friend here. Her name's Andrea Tabor, and she's always listening. Or she's not always listening, but she has been listening. But when I first moved here to Raleigh, we connected on music, and she was like, oh yeah, I used to love like Newfound Glory and stuff, and I mentioned Midtown. She's like, oh my god, I know Midtown. Then she grew up in Greenville, South Carolina, so there was like definitely outside of the realm of Jersey or Long Island, there's people who fucking went ape over you guys that live in like nowhere, in the middle of nowhere. Okay, the song "Come On," that's the "Come On, Let Go" of that song. That's "Come On," right?
So it's funny you say that, because we had a song called "Come On," which was not the song. The song you just sang is called "Let Go."
Oh, is that "Let Go"? Okay. Oh, yeah. What is that word he says? Affectations?
Yeah, so here's the thing. I don't know why Gabe got into music or why Gabe's managing bands. He's so smart. Like, the dude is so smart. he should have been an attorney. Like, I don't get it.
He just
You're
used these
using
big ass words.
Yeah, why are you using affectations? I've literally had to Google the word affectations, and it's in a damn Midtown song.
I just love it. It's like, okay, you're like, okay, here's the thing, because
But
like I remember when I first heard that word, I'm going, why is this guy getting so fucking like he's just pulling the dictionary out and just he's like, this is how smart I am. I'm going to use these giant words. I'm like, it doesn't
I
fit,
think
but
it
it
was genuine.
fits.
I think it was genuine. I
Yeah.
think he needed a word to find what he was feeling. I think it was somewhat genuine. I don't even think he was.
No,
trying
no,
to
I
be
think you're
smart or
right. I think
whatever.
you're 100% like that
No.
was just his brain working. He's like, oh, this is a normal word, or like that's not a. I've never heard that word until that fucking song. Like
Yeah.
it didn't fit. Okay, so you guys, you steal Heath and
Yeah.
you get the so
We throw him in the back of a Ford. Yeah.
so what was like the
Take him to rehearsals. You have to be in the band. We shackle him up. We force him to listen to really bad pop punk songs.
Yeah, you shove some grease truck food down his mouth, and you're like, here we go. So you guys get together, and then what was like the inner conversation where you guys said, okay, like who brought it up and said, we're gonna take this fucking thing all the way? Like, how did that start?
So, without like any specifics of really hard memory specifics, Gabe and I didn't get together to like just see what happens, right?
Yeah.
We had been through that in high school, and I know it seems so trivial to say, oh, we've been through that in high school and a year of college, but like we're like, we want to give this a shot because why are we working so hard in our bands if nobody else cares, right? So it wasn't a moment of, oh, let's see if this can go. We were always like, hey, let's go. And even to the fact of, I think Drive Through was sniffing around Humble Beginnings. So Gabe already had his relationships with them.
Yeah.
So what ended up happening is Heath is in the band for like, I don't know, a month. And we're like, hey, we have these songs, the ones we played for you. Well, let's do some rehearsals, and then we're going to go record. Let's go record an EP with this guy, Chris Badami. And, Gabe knew Jay Pinball from Pinball Records through Humble. So Jay's like, yeah, I'll put out your EP. So this literally happens. We're in the studio recording this EP, December 1998. And Gabe calls Drive Through Records. As we're like mixing, or we might even be in the middle of recording a song, Gabe takes the phone, and I remember this, holds it up to the speaker, and basically in response, they're pretty much, like, okay, cool, we want to sign you.
Wow.
I mean, truthfully, they probably just they knew Gabe's personality and all that, and probably was like, okay, this is going to be fun, and we know the music he's been involved in and things like that. But, I'm sure they needed to hear music recorded and stuff before we actually went in and did the final, whatever. But that was kind of like how it sort of happened. It was, so from day one, before we even played a show, and we made a concerted, obvious, clear effort to say, we don't want to go play a VFW hall or wherever we're going to play until we have a recorded piece of music. Because for us, it was like,
yeah,
it's kind of like, right. Well, what is that going to do for people that are interested in us? There was no streaming, or there was no real downloaded music. It took like, I don't know, 45 minutes to download one MP3 at that point in time.
Yeah.
So unless you're like at college, you have an Ethernet connection. Yeah. So we're like, okay, let's just wait. So all of what you're saying about like, oh, when did it start to happen? No, we actually had a really clear vision. We knew what we wanted, and we made a point to try to do it right. Whatever we thought was like doing it the right way at the time, we made that attempt. So from there, Jay released it. I think something happened where like, I don't even know if Drive Through made like bought it from Pinball, because I don't think they didn't, but they put their logo on it to help build this community of bands and everything like that.
Okay, okay, wait, I want to stop here for a second, because that was it. Drive Through and Pinball both the labels logos on the release?
Not the first iteration of it. I think the second, like one of the future pressings, I think Drive Through had their logo on it. And all that could have meant at that point was, hey, we knew we were signing to Drive Through for our full length, like pretty early on. And we and Jay knew that because Drive Through started getting some clout from Phoenix TX, that it would help Pinball by seeing the two logos back like next to each other. Because back then, identity was so important. Like, So Fat Records had a compilation called Fat Records for Fat People.
Oh yeah.
And
Oh
and
yeah.
I even remember that I would look at this compilation, and me and my friends would all scheme to say, okay, there's a little like catalog in the CD case where it lists like, 7 bands. It'd be like, Good Riddance, Tilt, Lagwagon, No Effects, Guns and Wankers. Like I'm literally like seeing it in my, like I'm envisioning it right
Guns
now.
and Wankers.
And
Yeah.
we'd get together with, 5 of your friends, and everybody would purchase 2 of the releases, and then you would all dub the tapes or burn the CDs from each of those releases that you got. So, and it was the same thing. We would do the same thing in early Rancid albums and early in any Operation Ivy album. Their whole thing was like all the Gilman Street posters, right? And some others. And we would look at the bands or on the thank yous of all of these, and we would see very clearly, oh, well, that band opened for Rancid, or Rancid opened for that band. Okay, you go buy that CD. We'll go to the Princeton Record Exchange, or we'll go to New Hope, Pennsylvania, to the Now and Then shop or Zipperhead or whatever store it would be. And we'd find the punk CDs, and then everybody would be responsible for purchasing one of them. And then we would all come home and have a party, not a party, but like we'd get together and we'd start dubbing things and giving them to all our friends. We'd bring all of our, our cassette tapes and CDs and make sure everybody got them. And it was the same thing with the thank yous, right? We didn't have the internet to try to be able to like find the songs on the internet. So we'd look at the thank yous and be like, okay, let's try to find, maybe instead of having to buy an entire, CD of that one band, let's just go see if a few of these are on one of these like Fearless or Hopeless compilations or whatever. Everybody had a compilation in the 90s, which was all the same regurgitated songs.
Yeah.
Like no matter which one you bought. So we knew that identity in the 90s was so important. So by having the drive-through logo next to Pinball, it actually helps both drive-through and Pinball, because all we have in our scene is each other. Like, we don't have anybody else. So the larger the scene gets, you're not going to lose fans by somebody liking another band, right? It's just going to make you more excited about all of the music collectively. So for us, that's kind of why Drive-Thru put the logo on there. They must have done some sort of distribution deal where they either did a distribution deal with Pinball or just bought a bunch and sold them through their distribution channels. But I don't think Drive-Thru ever had anything to do with that EP other than slapping their logo on it.
Yeah, actually a couple things. One, I think that was the start of me having a jealousy of your guys' band, because you guys came out and had a release from the get-go, hadn't really played a bunch of shows or had played no shows. Right?
Purposely played no shows.
Yeah,
Purposely.
And then you guys showed up and all of a sudden you're like, here's our CD and we're on Drive-Thru, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, how does this band not do any due diligence, and now they're on this label? And I think that was the start of where I was like, okay.
And the funny thing is we did all the due diligence.
You just did it in a different way, and that you did it in a smart way. You did a smart marketing approach. Yeah. That's why I think I look at that stuff now, because I'm involved in marketing, things like that, and I'm fascinated by that stuff, or guerrilla marketing or whatever. And there's a way to set yourself up smart. To know that at the age of like 18, 19 is pretty forward thinking. Second of all, I think actually, and I don't know if we have to keep this at all, but like I think one of the reasons that Jay won't do this interview is I think he just had some deals go awry, and I think one of them was Sacrifice of Life. Am I
with Drive-Thru?
Yeah, like I think the reason I don't think Jay wants to talk about Pinball days, because I literally have nagged him and people are nagging him. He just like won't do it, and either he's just the past of the past, or I think like some people have been like, yeah, I think he had some deals that didn't go right, and I think he kind of like, I don't think he wants to talk about it, and I think that Sacrifice of Life was something where it was a release that he had thought, like he started, and then it just like, I don't know what happened. I think that deal went wrong.
Yeah. So I can tell you this, in terms of that deal or whatever it is, he definitely had ownership on that EP, because mid-2000s, after Pinball wasn't a thing, and in similar fashion of how like I had wished that Lanemeyer were online and all these things, you didn't really have access to the Sacrifice of Life EP anymore. So I reached out to Jay, and we reached out to Pinball Records. I was friends. I got pretty close with Mark from Pinball. I'm sorry, from Eyeball Records, Mark Debiak, and I was like, Jay, can Eyeball just release this thing and distribute it? Because I'd love to see the light of day again. And I think he actually, there was like a number, something like $400 or $500. I could be making that up, but I'm pretty sure it was something like that, where he had to sell, not had to, but he made an agreement with them to give them the rights to license it or to be able to sell it.
On
So
Eyeball?
on Eyeball, yeah. So for a number of years, it was available on Eyeball.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
Eyeball had put out Humble Beginnings EP,
Hmm.
and he did a bunch of releases, but I didn't know. Okay, yeah, because it's on I Surrender. That's right, because you bought the rights to that, and you
Yeah.
guys sell it through I Surrender. Do you actually have physical copies of that, or is it just all digital?
Um, of Sacrifice of Life.
Yeah.
Not, we don't have physical copies of selling it, but I might have some in like my sister's basement or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so let's.
I want to say one thing about Jay though.
Yeah, please.
So anybody that knows Jay, it's like he is like such a warm, loving human being. Like
Yeah, I
he's
love
one of
Jay.
the like he is one of the good ones, I would say. But I thought, my assumption, and I'm sure I'm totally wrong, and he has his reasons, and they're all right. But I remember being young. I remember being 20 years old, 21 years old. Jay told me, he said, Rob, um, the money's in publishing. We have it all wrong. The money is in music publishing. That's what I want to get into. And for what Jay was doing at the time, he was ahead of the curve
Yeah.
on everything. So I always thought like he was so close to being the drive through, the fearless, the hopeless. Something somewhere happened and it didn't work out for whatever reason. But I knew he had it. His vision was right and clear. And I thought like he probably just didn't want to be on the podcast because he's just like, this is bullshit. Like that should have been me. Because
Yeah, I get that feeling too, and it sucks to and I'm not, Dev, we're not in any way talking smack about Jay. Like this is just, I'm just trying to fill in the gaps because I want to have him talk about this in
And
that
by the way,
whole
we could be
area.
making this all up. Like we don't
Yeah.
know Jay. We're not Jay. So we have no business assuming
But
what his
until he
deal
gets
was.
on this fucking episode, this podcast, I will say all the lies.
Yeah.
I love totally fucking with him too on like Instagram, where I posted the pinball family tree comp, and I was like,
Hmm.
"You excited for his interview?" I'm like, "Well, it's never gonna fucking happen."
Yeah. I should say this though about where because I'm doing like some web development stuff as my career now post music, and when I was in college, I was minoring in computer science. Uh, Jay Jay Pinball hooked me up with a job doing e-commerce stores with this guy that he knew in 1999, and I physically built a Pinball Records e-commerce store in 99. Isn't that
Really?
crazy?
No
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
I did not know that it was on. So what would just so people could buy like the CDs on there
Exactly. Yeah. But like,
on the
but that
records?
also
Yeah.
goes to show how ahead of the curve Jay was in his thinking always. It never got executed, but his mind was far forward thinking than anybody else.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, when he
Yeah.
showed up, I was like, this guy's got a plan.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
but he truly loved coming to shows, and I think he found a passion going to local shows, and then I think as a business or just his brain was kind of formulating. Just as when I went to see shows as a kid, I'm going, I want to play music. Or actually, no, I mean I entered the scene playing in a band, but prior to that, as I grew up and watched MTV, I'm going like, I want to do that. My brain
Yep.
started putting things together. I'm like, how do I make that happen? And then it happened. I was like, so some people just see, in the scene itself, all of this stuff, it just people they just brought themselves to shows, but their brains started putting pieces together. They're like, well, this is something that I understand. I want to do that. Like, I want to promote shows. I want to be in a band. Like, I want to start a band and tour the country. I want to produce music. Like, I want to, like Alex, like, I want to um, manage bands, Alex
Mm-hmm.
Sardi. And it's just,
Yep.
so I think like Jay's his superpower was, oh man, like I can get these these bands to get known, but also I can make a living off of this, which is
Yeah.
just fascinating.
Yeah.
So, okay, so you guys put out Sacrifice of Life, and actually I'm on eBay right now because I'm trying to find the back of the CD to see if it
Mm-hmm.
was double labels. The artwork is different. There's one where it's like a drums there's like film, and then
Eyeball Records.
oh, so that was so the first release though was the blue one, which is on I
Correct.
Surrender, and then when they re-released it, they changed the artwork.
The first one is the blue one that was on Pinball Records,
Yeah,
and then once Jay sold the whatever it was to
eyeball.
Eyeball, it was the red one. And by the way, Jay wasn't like, I want to sell this. We went to Jay and asked him to do that, and that was nice of Jay to allow that.
Okay,
Yeah.
but then why'd you guys change the artwork?
Pinball wanted to. We're like, whatever.
Okay, there's actually.
You know what? No, honestly, no. I think we didn't have the original files.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't.
That was it.
I remember like putting together the artwork for Stories for the Big Screen and watching this guy. We were like sitting behind the guy do that, and just watching this program. I'm like, how does this all happen? And now, I mean, I've had a career for 15 years doing design, where it's so easy to me to do that. But back then, I mean, I'm like, wait, you can do this digitally? Like, what? I don't fucking understand this. There's a picture online too, where it's someone's holding up a copy of Sacrifice of Life, and it's got all of your signatures on it. But for Elliot Rock, someone named Elliot, to Elliot, thanks. It's just like all of your signatures, and you with like a lightning bolt under your name.
Ugh, what a moron I was. Putting I was just having fun with it.
Yeah.
Do I think I'm Elvis Presley or something? Come on.
I used to write like things like the Jimmy Dugan from League of Their Own. I'd be like, avoid the clap, or like watch out for the clap.
Jesus,
Love
dark.
Doyle. Or I said something. I used to write the weirdest things, like it would just be fucked up and be like, that's odd. I was like, yeah, I know.
Especially because that might be going up on their wall that their parents are saying. So yeah. Avoid the clap.
Who's Doyle? So how did you guys? So you guys get on drive-through, and then you guys, because pretty much Gabe was like the reason New Found Glory got found by drive-through. Like he introduced them. Yeah, because that was right. Because I had asked Ian this question, and it was two, a yes and no. Or you said yes and no after. Fuck, go on. Someone said the same thing.
I think both Ian and I probably would have said yes and no. So basically, in 1998, I was dating this girl who went down to Florida on spring break, and she went to a show while she was down in spring break because we were kind of into the same music in New Jersey, and she had this. She brought back a CD of a band called A New Found Glory.
Yeah.
And I started listening to it. I'm like, oh my God, this is so good. So I had a radio show at Rutgers, and I started playing A New Found Glory over and over and over and over again every week on the show. And I would like email the band, whether it was Ian or Jordan or whomever. And we started becoming friends. And then I had, I think I had Humble Beginnings come on my radio show and do an interview. It might have just been like Gabe and Jeremy or something. I don't remember who it was at this point in time. I don't even know if Jeremy was in the band, honestly, at that point. But I'm like, you got to hear this band. So whether or not Gabe was familiar with the band or not, that was the moment where it started to really come together, where we're like, this band's awesome. And then there was this feeling of like, okay, Midtown, we want to play Florida. New Found Glory wanted to play New Jersey. So Gabe from Midtown's little brother, put on all the shows in New Jersey at all the Elks Lodges, VFWs, or wherever he did them. And he would have New Found Glory come and play his shows. And then we would tour down to Florida, and then New Found Glory would help us get on their skate park shows that they were playing.
Yeah.
So, so listen, I'm like honestly, like I'm Gabe, for them getting signed to Drive-Thru, that was, Gabe, really like going at Richard and Stephanie and saying, you have to sign this band. But the interesting thing is on our tour to California to record our first album, Save the World, Lose the Girl, we did a tour out there because it would have been silly to just drive all the way out straight. So we played in Florida, and we went into a hotel room, and in the hotel room, we literally signed our Drive-Thru agreement, which they told us was basically a Fat Records agreement. They changed a little bit. We leave the hotel room, and then after we leave the hotel room, New Found Glory walks into the hotel room to sign their recording agreement. And one of the funny things that I remember about this entire situation that day was that we were a little hurt because in this signing when Newfound Glory was in there, I think Chad went to them and said something like, listen, if we're going to sign this, you need to give us 20 copies of promo CDs, not 10. And we found that out after. We were like, wait, well, what is this all about? We only got 10 promo CDs. They got 20. I'm like, these are the things that you're thinking about when you're like 20 years old, not the important stuff, you know?
And so began the feud between Midtown and Newfound. No, I was kidding. Yeah,
know,
Chad.
right?
Chad was a smart motherfucker. I remember playing when we played a couple of shows with those guys. He was always. I think he even. This is when cell phones had started coming out, and he was always, or they were like here pagers. I mean, the pagers were definitely out, but he was always like on the phone, like he had a fucking plan. I thought he was like Gabe like 2.0. Like he was just super determined. Where I like just watching these guys, like, people like that. I'm always like, man, I wish my brain worked that well because I'd be a lot further at that point than I was. Because I'm like, how do these guys think of this shit? We're teenagers.
Yeah, but think of it again. Like, remember, even though like people didn't know, they might not even know Midtown, but people didn't know the bands before Midtown really. Like, yeah, you knew Humble, and like you thought I was in Professor Plum or whatever, which is a good point to make. No, but really, it's a good point to make. Chad did Shai Hulud, so he was not only able to learn, he was in a similar position as Gabe, where in Shai Hulud, it wasn't really his band, right? So he's like, well, what if I could start something where it's from scratch and it's my thing? So he got to learn everything he wanted to and didn't want to do potentially, even if it's a little band that doesn't really do much, and say, let me do it right where I have the control to make it right this time. So like to me, it makes sense why he was good at what he did and why he was convicted in his feelings of trying to make success.
Yeah, you're right. You're totally right. He went out and he was touring and he grew up in that life. It's like Chris from Saves the Day. Like they just grew up in this shit. So obviously a different viewpoint. But people just gravitated to this. Especially like having that moment too where people are just gravitating to your band and you're showing up and you're like, wow, this is crazy. We've never played here and all of a sudden we're packing this place. And just because their sound it's just attracting so many people and you're like, they just ride that fucking wave. And when I saw bands doing that, I was like, we're trying so hard.
Yep.
And it's like we just can't catch a break, and that would really annoy the fuck out of me. Like,
what it is, honestly? Like at the end of the day, some bands get a little bigger because maybe this person's a little better looking or this person has a little more connections. But at the end of the day, you're not going to get big. And this isn't a knock on Lanemeyer or any other band, but like if the music isn't great,
right,
it's not going to happen for you. I don't care if you're the best looking boy band or the most people in the world. It really comes down to the music at the end of the day. So if you look at Lanemeyer, you put out like an EP and like 3/4 of an album. Like, you didn't even have enough music collectively to be able to give yourself the shot to become that big band. That's why we did the EP. That's why Midtown did the EP first. That's why right away, like 6 months after, we drive out to LA to record a full-length album and then do another full-length and then do another full-length. Even and a lot of times, it's not even about your music as a whole. It's about, for whatever reason, you come out guns blaring with one song that gets everybody to rally around you.
But then you gotta keep it up though. Like you're right. You can be. It's like Shades Apart. They're still around, and they would go hard, but they never had. They did Tainted Love as a cover, but they never had that album that like caught so many people's attention. Like you have to have that spectrum where your sound can bleed into enough genres where people are like, if you were in like you could go to a Newfound Glory show when they started and probably have hardcore kids, ska kids, punk kids, emo kids. They're all there because they're like something about this fucking band. But then there'd be bands where they're like dead set, and it's like if you were a hardcore band, like you weren't getting their attention. So it's
Yeah.
like you had to be able to somehow your sound had to be that good and catchy where it sneak into people and they're like, I don't know what it is. I just can't stop listening to this. And
Yeah,
it's like that
absolutely.
thing.
I mean, the funny thing for Shades Apart on a few levels is like, and you know, for people that aren't aware, Shades Apart, you know, I think they were from like somewhere like Bridgewater, New Jersey. When you're really young and in high school, you looked up the Shades Apart because like they kind of had a little following,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden, they do a cover song on a major label or whatever
Revelation,
label it
right?
was.
Revelation, I thought.
Oh, on Rev? Oh,
I
wow.
think they
Okay.
were. I'll look it
But
up.
but because it was like Tainted Love, which was a cover, it's like that's not really their style or music. So you have a minor hit with that. And then you go back to the rest of the album, and which has two problems. It's like, well, first of all, it's not Tainted Love, which is a cover of somebody else's song, but like Shades Apart was in between an alternative band and a punk band.
Yeah.
So they had this tough thing against them from the beginning of like, which scene wants to like them, right? Like it's hard. That's why like even today you'll meet some really talented people and they're like playing Led Zeppelin type music, and it's like, where is the scene other than maybe two bands that are like I could even name that are around today, which there's really no scene for it,
No.
right? So that's why it's hard when you're in a band and you want to be all cool and you want to go and do your own thing. If you have to make sure there's fans to listen to your music in the first place. And I
Yeah.
think that's the tough part.
Well, that was like talking to Tommy from Latex Generation. He was like, we just couldn't figure out a sound. And it's
Yeah.
like, but they would tour their ass off, and he's like talking about they were on like Warped Tour and they did all these crazy things. But like, you can get in front of a giant crowd. Like I've said it so many times, like you can flyer the fuck out of a party, get 1,000 people to show up or a giant number of people to show up, and if you didn't focus on building the party itself, you're too busy on the marketing. When everyone shows up at the party, they're like, well, "Where's the party?" You're like, "Oh, I just wanted you all to come here," and then everyone leaves. They're like, "Well, that was fucking useless," and they don't want to come back. But if you
Yeah.
focus on having a great party, you have a couple people show up to it and they're like, that was the best thing ever. And then word of mouth spreads and people are like, I got to come to this next fucking party. So it's like
Yep.
metaphorically, it's the same way. Like you have to have something. Or yeah, it's like Shades Apart. Like yeah, they were on Revelation, by the way. They're like from Save It
Yeah.
on and then Universal. All right, I'm not gonna go Shades Apart the whole time. Did you realize when you guys did? Actually, how are you doing on time?
I got you, bro.
Okay, good.
I never use the term bro, just to be clear. I don't know why. I've said it 2 or 3 times
It's
in
weird.
this podcast.
I have to listen to myself for hours every single Saturday when I'm editing this. So I realize all of the things I repeat where I even got to the point where I started cutting out in interviews where, because I always go, oh, okay. Like I realized I do that. I started cutting that out because it started to annoy me.
I
But
might have to
I
call
say
it
like,
out if I hear you say that again in
yeah,
this
like
podcast.
now that I've said that, like people, it's gonna be stuck. There's actually other things that I do, and I'm not gonna say because I don't want to ruin it if anyone's listening. Before they're like, oh, he does fucking say that. Anyway, so when you guys did fucking Save the World, Lose the Girl, like, did you realize how good that fucking album was gonna be,
Not necessarily, right?
and how much I was gonna
So,
hate you for it?
well, first of all, thank you that you feel that way. That's really cool.
That was great.
Um,
Oh my god, I couldn't
so
stop listening. I was like, I fucking hate that I love this so much. It's so good.
yes, so that album is actually kind of funny. We so you know, after we're in Florida, we play a show or do whatever with Newfound Glory. They sign their contract, we sign ours. We go into the studio, um, and we basically we didn't even have anybody else really on that we even wanted to consider. We told Drive Thru, we're like, we love Clarity by Jimmy Eat World, and we love Blink-182 Dude Ranch. Is there any way to get Mark Trombino to record our album? So we're like, you know, we're pitching them on that like little kids and whatever. And they're like, actually, we reached out to him or his team, or they might have even known him because they were close with Jimmy Eat World. And they said, yeah, he said he'd love to come in and record a quick little album with the punk band. So in his mind, he was just going to do a quick punk album. Didn't know that I had never played to a click track before, and we needed serious, lining up the drums and vocal tuning and fixing up guitars. So he thought it was going to be like, I don't know, 7 to 9 days of recording. I'm pretty sure it ended up being 3 to 4 weeks, something like that in that, recording. So it definitely went over from what he was initially anticipating to record us for. But I think that time made a huge difference on what came out
Yeah.
for the album. Like, it was funny. Like this is kind of a knock on me. I think if Midtown had a different drummer, we would have been a fast lagwagon band. But I literally was not good at playing the no effects beat. Do that, do that, do that, do that. You know that one?
Yeah, that
And
was the
yeah,
beat. I mean, that's what, like Delvecchio.
yeah,
Everyone sat there and watched his fucking foot all the time from
uh-huh.
Humble Beginnings. So they're like, how's he doing this?
Yeah, and I just couldn't do that. So they didn't make a big deal of it, but that's why Midtown didn't have a lot of super fast songs. I just wasn't good enough to do the no effects beat. So it took a lot of time for me on every album after that was fine, but it took a lot of time for me on that first album to be able to play to a click track, and that probably wasted a day or two of just learning to play with a click. And then I couldn't do it with the fast songs, so that album feels at some points that it's all over the place for that purpose.
Interesting.
But yeah,
Were
yeah,
you
yeah.
playing with a click track live after that, or because I know a lot of drummers would do that?
I will get to that story.
Okay.
So we record Save the World Lose the Girl, and we're going in to set up the track listing. And this was like the one time I really like spoke up and like fought for what I wanted real hard. Mark Trombino, our song Just Rock and Roll that just starts out like, God, I wish I could hate you for the rest of them. So Mark felt that was almost like a track 7, 8, 9 on the album.
Wow.
The band didn't think much about it. They didn't have much opinions. But like, I'm like, listen, nobody knows our friggin' band. I go, if you put that at the top of an album and somebody puts in a CD, because the thing is, when you have CDs, there's no going to the most popular songs on
Yeah.
Spotify. You get one chance. And I'm like, whether you like pop punk, whether you hate Midtown, whatever it is, you put on the song Just Rock and Roll, and you're like, what the fuck is this? What is this weird thing where like these three people and why are they saying God and hate and all these things, and like then you're like, all right, let me just see what this weirdness is that I might be listening to. So it's like, so I fought everybody super hard to put that first on the album, and fortunately it won, because I think that helped a little bit of momentum of people like, all right, I'll give it a shot. And
Well,
they might be like, whatever.
so the best thing about that, I'm thinking about this because the whole album, Midtown is three different singers. Gabe majority, but like there's there's triple duty going on here, and that song introduces everybody. And it jumps into all of these different parts. It starts off fast, and it's got the breakdown. But when that part, for me, when Heath comes in, that hooked me. Like that,
Mm-hmm.
you gotta get your like it breaks in. You're like, okay, it's got some power, and it like builds up with like the drum roll, and then it just like ban in, and it, like just like kind of like, okay, like I can groove with this, and then it goes fast, and then it goes back and forth. But once that kicks in with Heath, I was like, that's that thing I talked about in the beginning of the interview, where there's that song where that dopamine rush comes in. I'm going,
Mm-hmm.
I have to hear that hook over and over and over again because it just gets me. It's
Yeah.
so great. And then you go into the rest of the album, and it's like, okay, now like Tyler's gonna sing, and now like Gabe's gonna sing, and then they're gonna mesh together. And then like Heath does Frayed Ends at the end, which was so funny because I thought that was Tyler for a really long time. And then I saw you guys live when the van broke
Mm-hmm.
down, and we had to get your your AAA card, which we could talk about when you saved our
You're
ass.
welcome. Yeah, yeah.
I remember seeing that you guys played it like it was really early in the set, and then Heath's singing that. I think someone broke a string or something. I'm going, fuck, I didn't know he was singing that fucking song. But anyway, but yeah, I mean that was a smart move putting it first.
So when this goes back to when I kept saying like, oh, we had very clear vision and thoughts of what we wanted when we started Midtown before we even stepped on a stage. One of those thoughts and visions was, we said, okay, in all of our previous bands, we never felt like we were able to shine fairly in what we actually wanted to do to allow us to enjoy being in the band we were in. So that was actually, one of the premises of why, Gabe, we knew, like we said, okay, you're the singer, but that was why Heath had songs he sang and why Tyler had songs that he sang, because we wanted to, have this feeling of like, okay, we've learned from the past of what didn't make us happy. So let's make sure that we can be happy. And that's why we had multiple singers. It wasn't just like, oh, I wrote this song or this song. We actually like had talked about and thought about, let's make sure everybody gets their shot if they want it, if they're feeling it, as long as their songs are decent.
How well did that record sell when it was released?
Not as good as Newfound Glory.
Oh Christ,
Let's say that much.
Newfound Glory was just like breaking records. We're like, Jesus Christ, these fucking guys.
For the scene at that time, it felt like that. Yeah.
I love that I thought when Matt Rosenberg introduced me to Newfound Glory, I was like, who's the chick singer? He's like, that's a guy. I go, no, it's not. And I think did I say that? I don't think I said that on Ian's interview. Yeah. But then I was like, I don't get it. Because they were on a compilation before they did the Golds. What the fuck was the name of it?
Nothing Gold Can Say.
Nothing Gold Can Say, the Outsiders quote.
They were not on Drive-Thru. Drive-Thru bought them out from their record.
Fiddler.
No. The first EP that Newfound Glory put out was on Fiddler.
Yeah.
And then right after that, they had a full length.
Nothing Gold Can Say. Right. I thought that was on Fiddler.
It was not on Fiddler. It was on it was on a hardcore label out of Florida. By the way, for everybody listening, when I listen to Doyle's podcasts, he always like hesitates and says, "What was that? What was the name of that label? Or what was the name of that person?" And like I'll text Doyle right away, be like, "Bro, in that one podcast, it was this person or this name," and now I can't remember the name of
Eulogy Records.
Eulogy Records. Yeah. Yes. So they were on Eulogy, and then Drive-Thru. I think I'm making this up again and probably breaking all kinds of non-disclosure agreements, but I think they bought it off them for something like $5,000, which was quite a nice investment.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then made how many fucking millions? Did you guys have any kind of like legit, like how we would see as Lanemeyer, we'd see you guys getting big and I'd be like, God damn it. Like and I wouldn't want to call myself out for being jealous. I was just like, no, they're doing it wrong. Or it was just like, I'm like, God, I'm so jealous. Did you guys have any of that with like any bands that you were kind of like felt like you were chasing or trailing?
Honestly, like the only band that would have been like that is Newfound Glory. Absolutely. Yeah. But we really liked the band.
Yeah, they were really
so it was like, geez, Dad, like that would have been cool if we won that game. But it wasn't, it wasn't negative hard feelings because we knew we liked the music. We knew we enjoyed being at shows with the band, So it wasn't this heavy kind of like, pissed off thing. And then honestly, it was good that we had a taste of that because what ended up happening is this is kind of what led to sort of the demise of Midtown in a way was we would always be able to like find and spot like the band that was going to be big next before they got big. So we'd take them on tour. And then literally 6 months later, they were all headlining over us. And we took Dashboard Confessional when he was only acoustic on his first Canadian dates. We took him up to like Buffalo in Canada and all these sorts of things. We took out Thrice. We played in Arizona.
Wow.
With Thrice to 200 kids in the Nile basement.
Nile, yeah.
We took out the it was their band before they became the Format or Fun. We took all of them out. We took out Jack's band from Bleachers, the local Jersey band. Before, well, we didn't take them out. They opened for us, but we had My Chemical Romance opening for us. We had Senses Fail and
Jesus.
Taking Back Sunday opening for us. Like all these bands that like got pretty big, we literally would take them on tours or put them specifically on shows. So, that was kind of the thing. It was like, yeah, all right, well, maybe this can still happen for us. So let's just keep doing it.
Wow.
And that was the thing that we would see over and over again with artists and bands. So for you saw it like once with Midtown where you were frustrated. But at that point for me, we were just like, well, their music's awesome. Yeah. And we really like these bands. So it's cool. Whatever. We'll just keep trying to be as good as we can be.
That's crazy. Yeah. Cause you guys bled into the whole early 2000s where it was the Warped Tour became like huge. Like the Warped Tour now it's done, but they had a reunion or some weird thing. But that's like when that was huge and there was just like, it was so in your face and you guys were in that mix. I think I remember one time, didn't you guys go out with like International Noise Conspiracy? Or played like a bunch of dates with them?
So I think, this also sort of led to, Midtown not being a band anymore. As you get older, especially when you hit your mid-20s and late 20s, your musical tastes severely start to change in your late 20s, where you're like,
Yeah.
and there's a really good reason for it if you think about it. It's like, okay, pop punk's awesome, emo's awesome, whatever, screamo, this and that, and your entire scene of friends is also listening to that, so it's super fun and super great. All of a sudden, you're like hitting 27, and you're like, all my friends are listening to the Yeah Yeah Yeahs and and Interpol, and they now all of a sudden, like, you're kind of in the ska band by being in a pop punk band. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally makes
So
sense.
so then it's kind of like I'm doing this thing, but like it doesn't feel as close and personal to my life anymore, right? So that, so part of that was we were listening. We loved The Refused, which is why we loved International Noise Conspiracy, but we loved all those new, like, Strokesy Hives type bands.
Yeah.
So for us, it was so exciting to be able to have the opportunity to do shows, with bands like, International Noise Conspiracy and, all that sort of stuff. So for us, that made us feel real good. But the problem was, if we start even thinking about writing music like that, like, attempting,
You're fucked.
to what we thought was writing music like that,
Yeah.
our fans are gonna be like, what are you doing? This, like, I didn't buy this album to listen to songs that sound nothing like what I'm familiar with your band to sound like. And I think that's the hard part about being in a band in general is, like, and it's fair, your musical tastes can change, but it's so rare, unless you're like Radiohead, it's so rare you can change the style of music you play and see success. You might as well just have a new band name and not be big, Like,
Yeah,
that's
and
kind of what
that's
it comes
hard
down
too.
to.
Actually, it's funny. Metaphorically, I thought about, and as like you're talking, I'm thinking about this too. It's almost like, it kind of compares. It's like going through 4 years of college because all your friends are around, and you're like, this is great, we're all just together, and all of a sudden you're like, I'm gonna do another 4 years of college, and everyone graduates. To like, why are you still there?
Yeah, that's right.
You're like,
Don't do it.
I'm trying to keep this alive, and also, but you're getting older, and then it becomes weird.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, so yeah, I didn't even thought about that. Like, it's being in a band. You start off, you're in Jersey, you're playing local shows, then you guys start going on tour, and everything's around you. But as you're getting older and you go back to Jersey and stuff, like, you're right, your friends and all these people that like, they kind of outgrow it, and you're like, oh, we're still doing this. And then all of a sudden, more years pass, and you're still doing it, and you're like, well, we're still in a van, we're still on the road. Sure, we're living in this bubble, that's cool, but this is starting to just not be work anymore. Like, you can see that, and everything around you, everyone's
Hmm.
like, oh, you're still doing that thing? And you're like,
It's kind of
yeah,
how it felt, at the tail end. That's kind of how it felt. And,
I can
you know,
imagine.
I mean, there are some, like, real positive takeaways, because I mean, a lot of those little shows were the people who were super loyal and really cared about you. Sometimes it felt like not just liking your music, but cared about you as human beings. And believe it or not, like, we've made lifelong friends from, the people that stuck with us through, our all of our albums, and even the ones that didn't sound anything like our first EP or our first album. There's a lot of positive takeaways and everything, I guess, you can do from being in a band. I mean, it's awesome.
Did you guys
It's
like,
like,
so when you guys went to, I mean, I always thought, like, if you guys are on tour, you're playing these big shows and things like that. It just seemed like that there's a bit of breathing room. Like, for me right now, like, for working for myself for freelancing, like, I don't really get a break to breathe, because unless I close a deal, I'm going, okay, cool, like, that'll last me for maybe a month or two, or like a month basically, and I feel like, oh, I can breathe again. But then all of a sudden, the month comes to the end, bills are paid, I'm going, shit, nothing's guaranteed, it's coming back in. It's almost like if I had a full-time job, I would just be like, okay, cool, I can do more creative things because I have this, I'm getting paid just consistently unless I fucked up. It's like being on a label, like Drive Through, where they, and then Columbia. That was the third album you guys went to Columbia.
that's right.
Okay, so but the second one, but you guys had that breathing room, like, you had labels, you're on good shows. Did you feel like it wasn't as stressful because of that?
Oh, it was no, it was literally the same thing. So when we were, so what happened was, is our first album was on Drive Through Records. Drive Through Records had done a deal,
With
like
MCA?
a really heavy deal with MCA, who was part of Universal Records.
Yeah.
MCA was like, Led Zeppelin and Shaggy and all that kind of stuff. And what ended up happening is they upstreamed. This was a big thing back in the late 90s, early 2000s. Your indie record label would have a distribution deal or some kind of like profit sharing deal with a major label. And if your band got big enough, you would upstream to the major label.
Yes.
So that happened for Midtown's second album, Living Well is the Best Revenge. So that was actually our first taste of being on a major record label. And it went okay. I mean, in terms of major labels, you're a failure. If you're selling 75,000, 90,000, 100,000 albums, you're a failure. You're a big failure on a major label, and you've lost the money because you look at like, oh, the recording cost of an album. Let's even say it's like a large amount, like 75,000. I mean, really, a lot of times major labels are, anywhere from $150,000 to $500,000 is how much they give for recording funds. Yeah, that's not uncommon at all. But with MCA, they're like, okay, they have a staff, they have radio promo team, in-house publicists. All these people got to get paid, and they're all working on your band, and they're all probably getting real money because this is coming out of the like 80s, 90s into the 2000s, where the CDs saw their glory days in 2000 to 2003, which was when we were on MCA, or partly on MCA. So we were a failure to them, but that's not what happened. So we put out Living Well as the Best Revenge. We recorded that with Mark Trombino as well, and MCA all of a sudden gets folded. It like closes down as we're in between records.
Oh,
so I guess for whatever reason, Universal, they're part of the Universal network. Universal Records was like, all right, well, you don't have new music, or you have some demos, but no new label has picked you up yet, but we're not going to drop you. Imagine being signed to a record label where they won't drop you, but they also won't release your music.
Oh my God.
So we were in this purgatory state, right? So we're like, we didn't know what to do. We're like, do we just have to break up being in a band and start a new band name to be able to put out music in the future because there's nothing that we can do? So at that point, Jillian Newman was managing us, and we love her to death. She's amazing. She manages Taking Back Sunday. She's one of my favorite people. I when I go out to California, I'll crash in her spare bedroom. She was working at a company that had some people that were supposed to try to figure out a way to help us get out of our deal. The rest of the people that were at the company weren't able to get us out of the deal. So we're like, this isn't working out. We went and we met with Bob McLinn and Jonathan Daniel, who own Crush Music. That's where your friend Alex Sardi at Crush works. And they were able to they had a good relationship with the people at Universal. And they're like, hey, just nobody over there wants to pick up Midtown. Just let them go, and then we'll be able to find a new album, well, a new record label. So that was the process of getting out Universal. There was a chance it could have been like to this day where somehow we just weren't able to ever release an album again because we were in major label purgatory where nobody cared to release our music, but they wouldn't drop us because they were too scared if somebody else picked us up, they'd lose money. Isn't that the craziest thing you've ever heard?
That's nuts. Actually, it's funny. Did you, I don't know if you listened to it. I did a Q&A episode with my buddy Tom. Did you listen to that one at all or see that I put it out?
I did not.
Oh, so Tom Simon, he was working at Universal at the time when all this was going down. So I think he was in the mix of all this. And so he's like, yeah, I remember like talking to Gabe like that whole time about that stuff. So he had like, but he didn't really tell me like what was going on, but he was on the label side. I was like, wow, this is fascinating. Like, so wait, so Living Well is the Best Revenge. That was on MCA, Drive Through MCA.
Correct.
Okay. Correct. Now, when you guys did the last record, Forget What You Know, that was the one that you did for Columbia, but like you had said, imagine having a record recorded that wasn't being put out. Was that the one?
No.
Or just like there was a chance that could happen.
there was a chance that could happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So
Yeah.
then,
There's no missing Midtown album that people are clawing at that exists somewhere in a vault on MCA Records.
I
That
I
doesn't
heard
exist.
I heard a rumor that there was like when you guys did Living Well as the Best Revenge, were you guys like parting ways with Drive Through? Like someone said a rumor that like there was a song on there that was about Drive Through, or Living Well as the Best Revenge was about Drive Through.
So
Was
the
that a
album as a
shot?
whole, no. So listen, we always batted heads with Drive Through, like any punk band would. You know, like listen, Richard and Stephanie, I think obviously one of their like what you can attribute to their success is also one of the hardest things for them. They are two of the most passionate people in music you will ever meet. And whether or not somebody loves them or hates them or has any feelings, they do genuinely care. And they have so much passion. But that passion could be a little bit of stubbornness because they really feel their way is the right way.
Yeah.
And they genuinely believe it. And I can't knock them for having, that feeling of like, hey, this means a lot and I want this because this is right. So it could stem anything from like, direction of choices or, tours or like, oh, well, why did Newfound get that tour and you didn't help us get this one with Blink or Phoenix TX or whatever, or anything from potentially like, hey, where's our royalty statements? Where's our royalty statements? Where's our royalty statements? Or, hey, we didn't realize when, we signed that extra amendment to our agreement from Save the World to help you out to put us up to MCA Records, that there really wouldn't be money involved for us and all these sorts of things. And so like whatever it was, and there was a lot of little things, and like honestly, I barely remember a lot of those fine details. Gabe would know though. Gabe would definitely be better at that than I would. We just batted heads with them, as simple as that. So it wasn't like there was this whole to do. But yeah, around that time was when we had a little bit of batting heads, and then Gabe wrote a song, and it was real interesting. I love the song. Oh my God, it's so good. It's called Become What You Hate. It's one of my favorite songs to ever play. Listen, I didn't write it. I can't say if it's about Drive Through or not about Drive Through. Gabe can answer those questions for
Yeah.
you. But we had Vinnie Caruana from I Am the Avalanche, the movie Life,
Yep.
singing on the song. So because that was on the MCA album, they could block the song from being on the album. And I don't know if somebody said it to them or they just figured it was. I really have no idea. But they felt that song was about them. Like I said, I can't confirm nor deny that. But they said, we're not going to allow you to release the album unless you take Vinnie off the track. So we had to take Vinnie off Become What You Hate, and we had Heath sing Vinnie's part.
No shit.
Uh-huh.
Is that public
Yeah.
knowledge, or is this like the first time people would know that?
Vinnie would know it.
Oh wow! So like
I mean,
this wasn't like a thing that a lot of people knew.
I
That
don't think
happened.
so, no. I'm
Holy
pretty sure
shit.
people didn't realize the extent of that.
That's crazy. My buddy, have you ever? Do you know Sean Bergen? Have you met him? I don't think you might have met him at shows.
I don't know.
He's a huge Movie Life fan, so he might really love that part.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck, something just totally came up with that. Oh, I remember hearing Barker told me one time. So Chris was in Lanemeyer. People listening, he's my best friend since I was like 14, 13 years old. He told me he worked for Drive Through after he quit Lanemeyer, and he moved out to LA. Was working for Drive Through, and he remembers when I think it was Phoenix TX put out an album, and there was like toilet paper on it, and I remember him saying that they looked at the artwork closely, and on the toilet paper had an R and an S, and it was like them taking a shot, I think, at Richard and Stephanie. I don't know if I remember Chris telling me this, and I think he said that they saw that, and they like said to him like, pull everything down from that band, like they something like that, something got taken down, or they like pulled back on something they were doing. They were like, "Fuck those guys." So I have to have Chris tell me about that again. But that was something where I was like, "Wow, that's fucking insane if that's true."
Yeah, listen,
shot.
that all sounds about right. I have no idea of anything about that, but that completely sounds about right with knowing all of the parties included. But that also just tells you that, like, they are very passionate people. As much as you hear these stories, you might even say to yourself, oh, maybe I want that person on my side if they're going to fight that hard for me and care that much, and not just let something slide. So, there's a lot of different ways you could think about, how that all goes down.
Yeah, it's kind of like, you hear all the Victory Record stories about just the nightmare stories with that dude.
Okay. So this is really funny.
Here we go.
So 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 I have this record label that I've had since 2003 called I Surrender Records. Now, I signed a band called 4 Year Strong. They're friggin' great.
Yeah,
I love them to death. They're really fun humans to be around. They did a cover album where, and this was also like, as running a record label and having to do royalties and all these things, I had to I had to like license songs from like the publishers, whether it's the Harry Fox agency or Sony ATV, because they covered all kinds of things like Alanis Morissette, Smashing Pumpkins, and all these things. But they're like, well, Rob, we love this one band from Massachusetts, and they're a punk band, and they're on Victory Records. And I'm like, I'm gonna have to go do legal paperwork with Tony Brummel. I've heard the stories. This is like what's going on here? Is this even gonna work? And he's like, so I'm like, all right, let me just see. So the song is called She Really Loved You. I'm like Googling right now.
I can hear you typing.
Okay, so everybody else, she really loved, the band name escaped me. She Really Loved You, Victory Records. Let's see if this comes up. So, Reach the Sky. So the band is called Reach the Sky and Victory Records. So I'm like, send an email. I'm like, hey, Tony, I have this label and this band 4 Year Strong. They really want to cover a Reach the Sky song. It would mean everything to them. And I'm dancing around like a scared child because it's Tony Brummel. And then he writes back fairly like straight and stern. And he because I'm like, oh, is he going to make me pay $20,000 to do the song, to put it on their album? So we go back like 2 or 3 times on me, like to just get approval from the license of the song. And his final email to me was like, relax, I'm going to make this nice and easy. And like, he really made it nice and easy. So like, that was it. Like, I'm all freaking out. Like, he's got, like, listen, whatever with Tony Brummel, he's signed so many bands. He's got a lot more shit to do than deal with like some kid in Brooklyn releasing an album cover with one of his bands that's track 8 on it, So, but that being said, I literally am every time I do my royalty statements, like once every 6 months or once every year, I'm literally cutting a check to Victory Records for like $2.50 for this cover that 4 Year Strong did of Reach the Sky.
That's yeah. Steve from Lobster Records, in his part, he said that like, I guess Tony had sold Victory, but
that's correct. Very recently.
Yeah, he does like real estate or something where he's just making like a shit ton of money. Where this guy's like a myth to me because all I have is hearsay about him, and it's usually the bands that are on the label and the things that went wrong, or like Adam from Link 80 in his interview, he talked about like reaching out to him and they were asking for support or something like that, and he wanted to give him like $500 to record an album or something like that. So it's like it's all over the place, mostly on the bad side about this dude. It's so fascinating.
Listen, I'm sure a lot of the things that you hear might be true, right? Like that's completely possible. But, he's had a full staff for years. And even though there's horror stories that, I've read online, like you've probably read that one really long one a number of years ago. I mean, people still work there and they're working with him and they're dealing with him every day. So, people have their moments. But I will say that here's my one crazy story. Midtown was playing at, I believe it was the Metro in Chicago. There was this Victory Records band. I'm not sure if I'm saying the band name right. They were from the Shore on New Jersey. I feel like the band name was something like OS 101, something like that. The singer had dreadlocks. Now, they were playing the show. It's probably 2002, 2001. After the show, we hear some people like yelling and arguing with each other. And then all of a sudden, like I'm out front of the venue, I see Tony Brummel run out of the venue. And then I see the band, OS 101 or whatever they were called, chasing him down the street. I see him run across the street into like a hot dog fast food restaurant, run through the restaurant, run out of it, and then run down the rest of the street while this band is chasing him.
Jesus.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I just remember that.
They just really liked him, and they're like, we want to just give you a hug. Beat the shit out of you.
I like the optimism.
Yeah, I'm glad that I've never had a moment where someone's chasing me down the fucking street where I'm running in and out of a restaurant for my, just running for my life as a hard or a band's fucking chasing my ass. I think I've done some things right where I haven't pissed anyone off that much.
Well, that's like for me, like even seeing those experiences and having some of them was like, I assumed, punk rock was always like, okay, and this has nothing to do with Victory, like just in general, punk rock is, it's like you pick each other up when they fall down.
Yeah.
You're doing it for the right reasons, to be honest, you care about everybody else and you're seeing all those sorts of things. So like when I had my record label, I was always like, I never, like it doesn't occur to me to say, let me try to shortchange one of the bands on my record label.
Yeah.
Granted, I don't have a staff I'm paying for, so it's a lot easier for me to have all of these feelings innately and naturally because I'm not in the position of everybody else. You should always be honest. Like don't get me wrong. I feel like honesty will give you longevity. If you're gonna lie, if you're gonna lie enough, it's gonna come out eventually, and it's not gonna be good. So like, why lie if you're in it for the long run?
Yeah.
So, but like the one thing I'm like really happy about, I'm not proud about it. It's just I love it. I love writing the royalty checks to my artist. It makes me so happy that I was able to build something and give something out of it, right? So like basically almost every band except for one that has toured on I Surrender Records, that has legitimately toured and not just done like 6 shows and broken up, I write royalty checks to.
That's cool.
And it's like my favorite thing. And like honestly, the larger the royalty checks are, the happier I am. Because it's like, wow, we're doing something right here. And it's helping propel, people's lives or careers forward. I know I Surrender is the biggest label in the world, but if I can do something to help them in a positive way, that they can move to the next level and sign to whatever label or release it themselves, but have a little more clout, like that gets me excited.
Yeah, I wish we could sell more of the vinyl to actually have you guys get paid back for what you guys put up.
But you know what? Like if you did tour, and I'm not telling you to. I know you're in different points of life, and that's not why I released.
Oh yeah, there'd be a reason. Yeah, there's no way.
No, I'm saying it would sell. It would sell.
Absolutely. Yeah, because it'd be. I mean, the only thing that keeps it going is the fact that I have the Instagram account, and I have so much fun with it, and it's a blast. I mean, it bums me out that I didn't have this stuff in my possession back when I was doing the band, because I think if that was back then and I was at the helm doing that shit, and not to be like boost my, pat myself in the back, but I'm good at it because I have fun with it and like it's not forced. And I think if I had that back then, we would have really helped us. And it bums me out that I didn't, and I have it now 20 years later where it doesn't make any sense, but it's still cool because I get, it'll be like, I'll find a funny photo of you and I'll be like, it's this guy's birthday.
Geez.
And you'll be like, God damn it.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah, you don't need to post that stuff. But
it's so much fun.
Here's the beauty of something you said, and I don't even know if you realized it, and it has everything to do with why being in a band is so hard. You posting some like dorky bullshit on your Instagram account is so nice for you, because at this point of your career with Lanemeyer, you have absolutely nothing to lose,
100%.
right?
Yes.
Like it doesn't affect anything in your life.
No.
So the hardest part that I finally rationalized that is so hard about being in a band that nobody really talks about, and why bands break up and why there's internal struggle, is because you never hear about bands breaking up when things are going well, right? Like things are going well, that they don't break up in the middle of a positive, moment. But the thing that happens when you're in a band is when you're in a band, when you're in Lanemeyer, right? When you're in Midtown, Chris Barker from Lanemeyer says something kind of not cool on stage, or Heath from Midtown says something not kind of cool on stage. Heath would never, so it's easy for me to just
Yeah, I was gonna say, I was like,
use
wow,
him.
Heath? I didn't think of it. Okay, go on.
That's why I can use his name.
Yeah.
But but like, it's like, oh snap, I'm gonna get off this stage, and I'm associated with that band, so that means it came from me. Because oh, you're in Midtown? Didn't your brand say like something effed up about like, this place in rural Idaho, like whatever it is? And it's like I am now responsible. So the hardest part about being in a band is any action that one of the band members makes affects all of them. So you're all responsible. So that's why it's so easy to butt heads and get frustrated with somebody else, because you're thinking to yourself, like, the negative thing you just did is affecting whatever my future is going to be. It's like you don't have the control of being that same independent contractor that you are with your book or your podcast or, your video company. So in a band, one person could screw it up for everybody. And that's why it's so hard to be in a band and why it's so easy to fight in a band. Because even when you have your own job, you're on teams and this and that, but like, there's another future out there. If you didn't work at that company, you could work at another one potentially.
Yeah.
In a band, there's only one Lanemeyer. There's only one Midtown. That's all you get.
That's the thing. Like, I think that's what caused frustration. Also, besides the fact of someone saying something, it's just the attitude they brought to it. So me and Chris butted heads so much because we weren't fighting in the moment about what was going on. I was subconsciously going, dude, this is my future. Like, you're deciding not to get voice lessons at that point, or you're deciding to drink before a show and having to fuck up your voice, or your decision to not want to play the show, or you. It's going to me going, dude, this is like, I'm painting a picture in my brain that when I'm in my 30s, we're going to be rock stars and playing these giant tours, and you're fucking that up right now. So I'm going to be mad at you, and I want to punch you in the fucking face. And
okay,
so that,
So here's a very good example of that, which is they're not wrong.
Right.
In 2003, Midtown, they took me out to like some restaurant or something, and they sat me down. Our managers weren't there or anything. Like, Rob, we need to talk to you. And I'm like, oh fuck, I'm getting fired from the band. I was like, oh no, this is it. Like, this feels weird. It's different. They said, like, we're going to try to make this leap on this Columbia Records album. We want to get to the next step. Right now, with your drumming, we don't feel it's going to allow us to get to the next step. So I was like, okay, is this what's going on right now? And I started the band with Gabe, so this was tough. They go, we have an idea. We want you to take drum lessons, but more importantly, we want you to play to a click track on stage because my timing was so bad. So they're like, you need to try this. Like, I don't know if it was like for the next 3 months or whatever of like getting better. And, we'll see how it goes in the next 3 months. You could imagine how weird that felt for them to be in that position, because I'm like, oh my God, this is like our major label. This is our real shot with a label that actually wanted to sign us, not a label we were upstreamed to. And it's like Matt Pinfield, who I used to watch on 120 Minutes, just signed my band. That's like I was like, oh my, everything was like so exciting. And then all of a sudden I feel super deflated. So the first thing I do, like scared out of my pants, is I literally go home. I buy a click track. I start practicing to a click track, which was hard in the beginning. And then I didn't want to not have it after because it was so awesome.
Wow.
And I'm like, okay, if I'm going to get better at drums, how does one get better at drums? You get the contact for the drummer of Dillinger Escape Plan and ask him for drum lessons.
No way.
Because Dillinger Escape Plan is like the most ridiculous drumming band of all time in terms of like our scene that had some notoriety. So I get this guy, Chris Penny's telephone number or email address. I'm reaching out to him, and we took a bunch of lessons together. And I'll be honest, like, it made a difference. The few lessons, like, I was holding the sticks all wrong. I didn't know how to like use like when the drumstick comes back from off of the drum head, how to like utilize that as like to not slow you down or to lose your energy or anything like that. Like he was telling me all these things, like, why didn't I just take lessons as a kid? Like, why I should have just done this 20 years ago is what I was thinking to myself. So that made a difference. We started playing with a click. And because I started playing with a click so early on, it wasn't just me becoming a better drummer. It wasn't just the drum lessons with Chris Penny from Dillinger. It was this thing where they're like, Rob, this is awesome. Let's start putting samples in our music because we're playing to a click live. So it actually did like funny, like obviously it helped me in my life because I didn't get kicked out of the band. But at the same time, it was like it allowed Midtown to do these other things in life that people weren't doing in 2003 in terms of like samples. Like now everybody only uses samples.
Yeah.
But you know, it was kind of new. Like we had this was so obnoxious. I literally had a rack mounted mini disc system in 2004 when we were touring because you couldn't use CDs because they would skip. Cassettes, I mean, what the heck with a cassette? And we didn't really have MP3 players as easy and as accessible in 2004 to use the samples off of. The mini disc player, you could just hit next and reverse, go to the track. It was really easy. So we'd put the click on the left ear and we put the track in the middle of the song on the right ear. So the only thing I'd have to make sure is that I counted off the song for the band correctly, so the samples didn't come in at like odd, ridiculous places by accident.
Oh my God, that's so nerve-wracking.
Yeah, no, but you get used to it, and like you always have your emergency where like I'll be playing drums, I'm like, oh my God, I screwed up and I'm on the wrong, I'm on the wrong meter, and then you just with one of my hands I'll just like hit pause or stop on the mini disc player, and then like we just wing the rest of the song and it's fine. So, but yeah,
that's
that was
wild.
like. That was a moment. Like the point of that really was like anything one person does, whether it's, musician wise and, if you're good or not, or the things you say on stage or the shit you post on Instagram or Twitter, the hard part about being in a band is it reflects the other band member, even if they have nothing to do with it. And not only does it affect the band member, it's like affecting you're like, I worked so hard for all this for my future because I want this band to win. And now we just took 2 steps back because it's something I completely didn't do. And that's why you fight with your bandmates.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing. And that's why people say your bandmates are your brothers or sisters, because it's like you're all like, you all have that same last name if you're brother and sister. Like you can't let go. It's
the family
it's you
name
all together.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why you fight with your siblings and stuff so much.
That's interesting, dude. I can't believe you just reached out to the dude from Dillinger. We're like, hey, can you just teach me some stuff? Were you living in Jersey at this time?
I was not.
Or were you in Brooklyn?
I'm trying to think. I did have a car, so I might have went to a rehearsal studio in New Jersey for them. I actually might have driven out because Midtown was recording in New Jersey at the time. We did have I'm sorry, we did practice and rehearse in New Jersey always.
Where?
So,
Wait, where'd you guys practice in Jersey?
So, in the early days of Midtown, we rehearsed. Like we might even rehearse at my mom's house in Hillsborough a few times, but primarily it was Gabe's dad's basement where Ricky Saporta. When we were in college, we rehearsed at a bunch of the dude from Doc Hopper. He owned a studio in New Brunswick, so we recorded with him. I'm sorry, we rehearsed at his space all the time when we were first starting out. But in Jersey City, after we all moved to New York or Jersey City, Gabe found this place, which ended up turning into Cobra Starship's rehearsal spot. Like it's not Jersey City Heights, but it was like out there, like basically in the warehouse district of Jersey City. So I would just drive from Brooklyn out there, and it would, with traffic and the bridges, it would be like, sometimes an hour and a half to get there, but that's what we would do.
Give me the perspective of being on a major label, is because everyone that seems to be what's the word? Like the major leagues, right? Everyone's like, oh, get on the majors, get on a major. But then you hear the horror stories of being on a major, which trickles down to everybody. And they're like, don't be on a major. And then some bands are like, I make a lot of money because I'm on a major. What was your perspective of being on Columbia?
Right. So it's pretty simple. If you're on an indie label, the idea typically is the indie label, whether or not you have a lot of success or just a little success, they'll continue to support you and be there for you in some capacity. Typically, and these are where the stories stem from, if you don't hit it at radio on a major label, they're done.
Yeah.
Like, they'll give you, it's so expensive to go to radio, and it's the only real way a major label cares to make any money is radio. Yeah, maybe today with playlisting and Spotify and streams and whatever it is, there's always going to be outliers. But even today, if you're not gonna slay it on radio, like they're not gonna care about you anymore. And that's the horror stories like of being on a major label. So for us, we were in a very unique position because I think our managers had an extremely good relationship with Columbia. I think the number one thing that we kind of did that hurt us a little bit was that, so we signed to Columbia, and then, you know, if anybody's ever listened to the Forget What You Know album, which was the last Midtown album, sounds a bit different than the previous two albums. It's a lot darker. It's a lot more alternative-y. Like, everybody wants to be Radiohead or the Foo Fighters when it's 2005. Everybody thinks those are the, you know, every band. We want to be them. So, you know, we were thinking about that in the back of our minds when we were writing the songs. And the album comes out, and it doesn't quite get the reaction we wanted to. So we start touring. The shows are a little smaller. It's not completely like embarrassing or anything like that. It's just like, it felt like, oh, wow, we just put a new album and we've leveled out. And I think that's what all of us in Midtown kind of felt. And we even felt it a little bit at the end of Living Well. I think when we saw some of these other bands just like flying by us, like, whoa, Thrice, and, you know, every single band on Drive-Thru, basically, you know? So we're like, oh, okay, well, let's give this one more shot. And, you know, so we got back from a tour, and I think it was like May 2005. And for a minute, we kind of just like said, I guess this is it. We never, to this day, I don't think we ever like made an official breakup. I don't think we did. I think we kind of just
really
stopped. I think we kind of just stopped. So we were at this point where it was like, we were real fortunate because I think Columbia was going to give us one more chance to do an album. And I don't think it was us. I think it was their faith in our managers, to be honest. But they were going to give us the shot. And then I guess around this time, with like, remember they had like The Faint that was on Saddle Creek, all these like electronic pop-ish bands started to pop up, and Gabe had started writing some songs. So I think at that point, you know, especially with, you know, Gabe's friendship with Pete Wentz from Fall Out Boy and all of these things, we had the opportunity, and I really wanted to do one more album. We had the opportunity to potentially do an album on Columbia, but Gabe's like, you know what? You know, besides us like batting heads because we weren't successful, we were batting. Yeah, everybody has their own quirks. Gabe has his quirks. I have my quirks. Tyler and Heath. But like at the end of the day, if we were successful, we would have been happy together. You know?
Yeah, I mean, take the stress off.
We wouldn't have been that.
Right.
Yeah, but my understanding from what I remember is that like I think he already had a foot out because he had these new songs, and if he could get off Columbia, he could work with Pete on a band on Fueled by Ramen. Now, I don't know if it was that fast and connected, or if that's like over a year's period of time where that all happened. But at that time, I was so Midtown, basically, we internally said, okay, I guess this is it. We're broken up. And then, you know, not publicly. And then Gabe started doing, at that same rehearsal spot, Cobra Starship. And, you know, I was living in Brooklyn, and I met this guy, Alex Suarez, who lived above me. I'm like, hey, Alex, Gabe, my old singer, is starting a new band. You're like an awesome dude. Why don't you like meet him and see if you all vibe for Cobra Starship? So he lived upstairs. Before that, and then after that, his friend Ryland, who actually played in like George Clinton or P-Funk, Parliament Funkadelic when he was in school in Tallahassee, he was Alex's friend from Florida. So Alex got him to be the guitar player in Cobra. And one small tidbit that nobody really knows is that when Cobra Starship first started, I was at the point of like, because remember I had my drumming trials and tribulations. I was like, all right, well, I don't see how I can get better at drums living in Brooklyn. You don't have a basement, you don't have a garage. If you want to play drums, you got to go somewhere. You got to pay hourly. You got to bring your kick and your cymbals and your snare, and you got to set up and you got to break down, and then you got to commute back and forth. It just wasn't easy. So I'm like, if I can become a bass player in life right now, maybe I can get really good at bass. So the first like 2 weeks of Cobra Starship, I was the fucking bass player.
Really?
Swear to God, as a drummer that doesn't know how to play bass.
Holy shit!
And here's the thing: Alex Suarez, who became the bass player, I made him play drums, or I made him play keyboards or something like that, so I can play bass. He was the good bass player. And then I'm like, what am I doing? Like, why am I clowning around? I'm so much better in business and helping people than I am as an actual musician. So then I'm like, all right, this doesn't make any sense. So that's how but that's how Alex Suarez got into Cobra Starship and how Cobra Starship got started. Now, the interesting thing is right before Cobra Starship, right before this all happened, my roommate was Max Bemis from Say Anything in Brooklyn. Alex Suarez is living upstairs. Max at the time was looking for a guitar player. So in my living room for Say Anything, that same guy, the Cobra Starship bass player, I introduced him to Max to be in the band. And I remember them doing a bunch of rehearsal sessions, saying if it would work out. And then Alex was like, I don't know if I want to tour. So he ended up not doing Say Anything. But that was the funny thing at the time when Max was my roommate in Brooklyn.
What the fuck?
Yeah, dude. This is why we could talk for 5 hours, but we don't want to put the pain into anybody's ears any longer. But I will tell you one crazy Max Bemis story.
Please.
And this still blows my mind.
Is this around the time where he like lost his mind and was like walking around New York's like endlessly? Like, I love Say Anything. I love Say Anything. Band. Not that like the last 3 albums, but like prior to that, like I fucking love that band so much. But
I still listen to Alive with the Glory of Love.
Yeah.
is the third song on my running playlist. And I feel like such a dork because it comes on and I'll be like running around Brooklyn. Then all of a sudden I'm like doing air drums like some kind of clown, like when you see like one of those like 55-year-old guys on his steering wheel with his drumsticks, like driving at a red light. Like that's me running when Alive with the Glory of Love comes on. But the thing about Max, this is so fucking wild. So he's in my, he was in the room next to me. And I walk out of my bedroom and he's at like the door of his room and he goes, and it was like this vintage Def Leppard shirt. And he's like, oh, you're wearing my shirt. And I'm like, what is he talking about? Is he like, maybe he's having an episode? Like, I don't know. Like, it was really like, I was like, what's going on? He's like, yeah, you're wearing my shirt. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, yeah. In the year 2000 or 2001, Midtown played a show in Southern California. You came up to me and you said, I'll give you $10 and a Midtown shirt for the shirt you're wearing off your back right now. Max Bemis and I, in like 2000, traded shirts at a show, but he was a fan at a Midtown show. And then fast forward 7 years later, we're roommates, and I'm still wearing the shirt he gave me and had no idea this was the guy.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Wait, how the fuck did you guys become roommates? And you didn't know, and this never came up in a conversation when he was like, oh, I met you in Midtown, and you took my fucking shirt. Well, traded for it.
I knew, like, besides the fact that I was a big Say Anything fan musically.
Yeah. Wait, well, he was doing Say Anything though at this point. Like, is this when Is a Real Boy was out?
Absolutely, yeah, without a doubt. So that must have come out. That must have come out in 06. I wonder how 05, 06. It must. Yeah. I don't even think it was 07. It must have been 06. Mm-hmm. So, So I think I might have known I think Max might have been at the video shoot in 1999 because he was just a fan of Drive Thru and music and Saves the Day. That was always his favorite.
Yes, yeah, Chris
I think
Conley.
I think he might have been at our video shoot in 1999 for just rock and roll. But after that, our booking agent was Andrew Ellis
Yep.
from who does like
Get Up Kids.
Get Up Kids, Newfound, Alkaline Trio. He did Midtown, a bunch of other bands. He found this kid. He found this kid, Max Bemis, and same thing. Max would be on shows acoustic, just like every other band. And that's, I remember like I met him there and I'm like, oh, it's one of Andrew's. I'll be nice to him and talk to him. And he was a big fan, and hearing him talk about, music was always really nice because he was always really passionate about, the bands that he likes. And it was so sincere and honest. And it was just refreshing to hear him talk about, music. So I definitely remembered him and liked him. And then I think this girl, Melissa Sabo, she worked at MCA Records that I had known for a while, but she was in New York. She ended up working with Randy Nichols. So Randy Nichols, you've heard his name in all your episodes. He does like Under Oath, The Almost, The Starting Line. He used to like book ska bands when he was in the 90s and all that sort of thing. Melissa worked with Randy Nichols, and they were managing Say Anything at the time. And I think Max, wanted to give New York City a shot. So through Melissa, I believe that's how Max became my roommate.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. Like, God, I could talk for hours about that guy. He's so fascinating. Like, but I'm not going to take it on that path. That is interesting, though. I will say it's interesting, though, that I remember when In Defense of the Genre came out, and he had this whole just group of musicians that sang on it, and like Newfound Glory's on it, and then he ends up marrying Sherry from Isley, who was married to Chad. That was weird. I was like, man, like he's on his album, and then he like ended up like with his ex-wife. It's like, jeez, scandalous. Yeah. But they were broken.
Life throws so many curveballs that it's kind of like you kind of just if it feels right at some point, you gotta go with it, and you can't look at the past. You just can only look forward.
It was like I was like, wait, he was just on his fucking record. All right, fuck, dude. I do have to like bounce because I gotta go check out my dog, and I do have to.
This is just like our regular phone call.
I know, right? It's like a legit. I just happened to record it for 2.5 hours.
Yeah, exactly.
That's pretty much it, man. I mean, like, how did you like when you played the reunion shows? Did you have a click track then?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Oh, I will always have a click track if I ever do anything again drum-wise.
Do you ever play at all, just like casually, or do you hit the skins?
Do I hit the skins? I would totally. I have always said if I lived in a suburb and had a basement, I would always have the drum kit set up and I would go down there. But just like living in Brooklyn, you got to make an effort if you want to go play drums.
Yeah.
So I haven't done much lately, honestly. I actually bought a keyboard this year and I have 2 guitars. So if I'm doing anything, it's learning really bad. Like I taught myself Sweet Child of Mine on piano and from Guns N' Roses, and like Jump by Van Halen and Home Sweet Home by Motley Crue. Don't ask me. It goes back to my youth why all of these are the songs. But yeah, there was a lot of hair metal and hip hop between 1984 and 1989 in my life.
Dude, it's so weird. I'm like looking up. I'm just like when I'm interviewing, I always put up the band name and I'll do like a Wikipedia page open and do images and all these things. There's so many images, Midtown images, where they're Getty images. They have like the Getty watermark on it.
That was
weird.
I think that was towards the end where like I think Getty started to become the internet because of the internet started to happen, and it was those years. And I think we might have even been like.
Do you get paid for that though? Like, do you get royalties for that?
Oh no.
Okay.
Never. Not one. Not to my knowledge. I wasn't. If there was, I just remember there's one Getty image where like like one of the guys in Panic at the Disco, like it's my face, but they show it as like Brandon, Brendan from Panic at the Disco or Ryan Ross from Panic at the Disco, whatever it was at the time. So all my friends were like sending me stuff like, oh, I didn't know that you were in Panic at the Disco, because Getty Images screwed it up.
Like you fucking is. I just text you. There's this awesome image of you online playing drums. You look like a badass. Like the no sleeves and the shirt.
Yeah, I know the one. I love that photo.
That's a great photo.
It was that was in North Carolina. So whoever took that photo, good job. But the dumb, like, this is like part of being in a band, and we've all done that. Read the name of the what's the band on the t-shirt? Like a cool metal band.
Neurosis.
I did not know any Neurosis songs. I had no business wearing that shirt, but I'll tell you this much: it made me feel cool. I was cool for a night.
I was gonna say, like, you guys definitely went down a fashion path in the band. Like, did you because I've looked at the pictures of you. I mean, you have like the feathered hair and like you guys are all done up. Like, did you enjoy that shit, or was it just because you're like, all right, we'll just go with we're creating an image here? Because I mean, that was
Yeah,
the thing.
we
It's like
definitely.
that was the thing though. It's like if you go in, like that shirt is like kind of like one of those. If you go into Urban Outfitters, they're like, this will make you cool if you buy this. You're like, I'm gonna be cool and buy that. You
Yeah.
know, like I didn't listen to Rosas. I'm like, yeah.
So yeah. So when Midtown first started, we definitely diverted greatly from this as the band went on. But when Midtown first started, just like everything else, we're like, okay, we need to have. And when I say an image, I don't mean like a corny, like stupid thing. I mean like, you know, let's at least like try, guys. Like let's attempt to be cohesive to some extent. So the really funny thing is in some of the really early like Midtown photos, we're all wearing turtlenecks. Who wears
You
turtlenecks?
guys
I
were
don't know. Like,
very turtleneck heavy in the beginning. The
yeah,
pea
honestly,
coats.
yeah.
Yeah.
The last time I wore a turtleneck, I was Steve Jobs for Halloween like 7 years ago. Like, what am I doing? I don't know. But that's part of the fun of being young. Like, you're figuring yourself out. You're saying what works for you and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, it was like
So
I mean, that was like the fashion core era. That was like so many
that's
bands.
what began the fashion core era, absolutely. But even at that, it's kind of like you could make fun of Midtown or Lanemeyer or whatever band, and then you're like, oh well, I mean, look at AFI. They didn't just dress somewhat cohesively; they went hard. Even
Yeah.
the Alkaline Trio, like it's totally different because they're cool, so to speak, compared to Midtown. But still, it was like they could do anything they want. So it's really no different than what all the other bands did, just on our own little level of how we perceived
I think I've said many
perceived it.
times, like I kind of thought that Midtown, like you guys had kind of started, like I think a lot of bands had followed that movement with the dressing up, but then it like went crazy, like crazy where some bands I'm going, you guys are like other bands. I was like, you guys are literally just dressing up because you think that's gonna make your band good, and like and your
Yeah.
band is shit, and you're just trying to match the sound that's out there, like the disco punk era. The only thing, I
Mm-hmm.
think the only band that I liked in that era was Daryl from Glassjaw's band.
Head Automatica.
Head on.
They
I
were
love
great.
that
That
band.
that Beating Heart Baby,
Oh yeah,
great song.
I love
Still
that
to
first
this
album.
day, great song.
I thought the second album was complete shit because they went in this prog rock direction. I'm like, this isn't what Head on Automatica was. I mean, granted, it was his vision because I think he just wanted to. I remember reading an interview with him one time. He's a huge Squeeze fan, and I
Mm-hmm.
thought Helix was going that direction. But that was it. And all the other bands, like there was one band, it was like five dudes. They were brothers, and they played this disco thing. They were so fucking awful, and but they saw what was popular and they matched it and they just like dressed to it, and I was like, this is gross. Like I can't. And then that's where I was like, I can't deal with this fucking shit. I just separated myself from music for a while. I was like, I can't attach to this crap anymore.
Well, I think that's really when you see these screamo bands, and I don't mean metal bands. I mean the dress up, the MySpace bands. That's where really what it came out of. It came out of like it started with MySpace, and it kind of went from there because you have a close up on a little thumbnail of you and your hair with hair over one eye, a pink
Yeah.
stripe in your hair, and then a septum piercing. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. You're right.
yeah.
Fuck those guys.
Fuck the guys of the band. You didn't even name a band. You just mean the whole scene. You're like,
Fuck that whole scene.
yeah.
God damn it, dude. Well, I'm gonna wrap this up, but this was a lot of fun, Robert. This was great.
Thanks, Michael.
All right, so to the last two questions, but what do you want to plug?
So this has nothing to do with music, but it's something that kind of just evolved over time. So I live in Brooklyn, and we have corner stores all over the place, small businesses. They're delis in Brooklyn, and I think it's kind of moved out of Brooklyn with the term at least. They're called bodegas. The interesting thing about living in New York is that you you have so many people here that there's bound to be, mice, rats, cockroaches, and all that sort of thing. So a lot of these bodega owners and these deli owners, they have cats inside of the delis because they'd prefer to get a violation from the health code department for the cat than a worse one for the mice, rats, or cockroaches, or the droppings from them, right? So it's common if you come to Brooklyn, you might, I'd say like maybe one out of every, 7 bodegas might actually have a cat in it. So in 2012, 2013, Instagram had come out, and I'm like, oh, let me post one of these cats on my account. And then all my friends were like, that's amazing, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, okay, I guess people like this stuff. I'm just going to see if the internet's like what I think it is. So I started an account called Bodega Cats of Instagram, where people just send me photos, and I have it on Twitter also. They send photos of these cats in bodegas, and they're really fun to watch and see and hilarious, and they'll make you smile. And it started getting big, right? So, and this actually ties into punk rock a little bit. So it now has, something like almost 230,000 followers on Instagram and like 310,000 followers on Twitter. And it's all real. These weren't bought or anything, like you can see on the engagement. It's like, oh, it's a real thing. People care. Okay, well, I'll just keep doing it because it makes people happy. And then I was thinking of like punk rock, and I like literally, this was like the thought. I'm like, all right, well, now that it's a platform of sorts, like you have an audience, you should probably use it to some positivity. In the same way, Gorilla Biscuits would have a song called Cats and Dogs about like, oh, well, why do we just love cats and dogs? You should love all animals. Or Propaganda on their platform, being able to use it for, whether or not you agree with it. I happen to agree with a lot of what Propaganda says, but of what they say, it's being used towards a positive cause, for positive reasons. And you hear hardcore and punk bands and ska bands say this stuff all the time on stage. At least they used to. So I'm like, what am I going to do just having this thing? It's like, listen, I'm in my 40s. I have no business having an Instagram account of cats, right? It's kind of weird. So I'm like, you know what? so you know what? I was like, you know what? I'm going to make a web store, and the income that comes in from it, I'm going to try to find how to help, community cats, feral cats, local cats, and work with some organizations that, do either TNR training, which is called trap, neuter, return. So basically the only effective, humane way, or one of the best effective, humane ways to control cat population is to get them spayed and neutered. So there's this guy reached out to me from this organization that's a 501c3 called Flatbush Cats. And what he does is, not only does he TNR cats, he'll help them get fixed up if they're injured, and he needs money for it, called Flatbush Cats. He'll also release them back, but sometimes he finds cats that they call friendlies. And these are cats that can be adopted. So these feral community cats or bodega cats, whatever they are, if they go through him and they're a friendly, then he puts them up for adoptions. They're an amazing organization. So now what I do, and I want to help other and more organizations as well, even if it relates, because it's, for me, it's more about the community in addition to the cats. I shouldn't say it's more about, but it's about the, helping the community as well. So in the future, as this continues to grow, I'd like to help out, maybe something to do with small businesses or immigrants, because a lot of the owners are here on visas, or they're immigrants and things like that.
Oh, wow.
Of the bodegas. So my first step in the process was with this web store, which is just bodegacats.nyc, is to take the money and be able to contribute it into positive causes. You look at Hopeless Records has that side label. At least they used to. Subsidy, yeah. It's my understanding that label, if you're signed to them, part of your profits from your album sales go to a charity that you that you agree to. So, and I thought that was awesome that they did that. So I was like, in the same way, I had this platform, going back to like just like punk rock and what it taught me and how it made me feel and think. I'm like, well, now that I have this, I'd love to use this, for some sort of positive cause, positive change, and whether that's currently working with an organization like Flatbush Cats, donating money or social posts, or in the future, if there's something to do with the community, small business owners, potentially immigrants, in addition to cats, because I feel it's all interrelated, especially living in Brooklyn. I've been here, I'm going on 18 years living in Brooklyn. So it is all very personal to me, and it feels close to me, and it does feel like home. Like Jersey is a far distance in my mind. I've been here almost half my life. So that's why, if there's something that I'd want to plug and support, you can go to bodegacats.nyc, buy a shirt, and it's going to something positive.
That's great. I love it. And the design's really cool.
Thank you. Yeah, that's the funny part about like having a label or being in a band. It's like, oh, I know how to reach out to artists and like, hey, this is what I'm doing. I got $150. Would you be down to make a design for me? So like, it still goes back to music,
Yeah, that's actually it's not that bad too. People are like, I got $25. Can you help me out? And you're like, no, I can't anymore. I got to pay bills.
I feel like I'm insulting a bunch of graphic designers right now for saying 150 and not 400 or 500, but just saying.
Yeah, yeah. But so if someone said 150, I was like, all right, like Jack from Coolidge, he has a tea shop called Bantha Tea Bar in Pittsburgh where he sells tea, and he wanted me to do like a couple rip-off shirts. So, and he was like, oh, I got this. I was like, yeah, I can work for that. So there was like the first one we were doing it. He was like, oh, I'll get back to you. I go, no, you have to pay me. He's like, he's like, I'll get back to you like in a couple weeks. I go, no, dude, like
it doesn't work like that.
I can't wait. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So to end this amazing interview, which I'm very happy about, what scene ethics does Rob Hitt hold on to this day?
So scene ethics they're actually a funny thing, because I've heard everybody, in a lot of your other episodes answer them. Obviously, there's a lot that you learn from being in music, in a scene of sorts, right? So like, but that could be different for everybody. So somebody could say, oh, I was straight edge and I learned that and I still don't drink or whatever. Like, that's not me. But that, in a way, straight edge is kind of like a scene ethic, right? So for me, there's like two big things, right? One is loyalty and community. You're with your band of brothers or brothers and sisters. You fight for them, and you're all in this together. And that's something like being a part of something special where you fight for each other, is something that I bring in life with me. Like, Alex and Gabby run the record label with me, and they're my best friends. It's like, something happens to either of them, if I had to be on a flight out in 2 hours, I would do it. If I had to drain my bank account for them, I would do it, and I think a lot of that comes from the scene too. Like, that's very important. But morally, something that I've taken with me, since I was, in my ska band, silly, goes back to ska,
Professor Plum,
is that like, I haven't eaten meat since the mid-late 90s. And it's actually really important to me because, with like, listen, I always thought about it even before punk rock and things like that, because it never lined up with me that, oh, well, why do we like, why can I have the dog and cat and they love me, and I would be so mad if somebody ate the cat and dog or all those sorts of things. Like, that all went through my head and I couldn't rationalize why, but it's okay to kill like a cow because it's not necessarily as cute looking, or it doesn't come up on my lap. It's not small enough to be on my lap while I'm watching television. I didn't understand the difference, and I still can't really rationalize the difference. But it wasn't till being in punk rock where I'm like, oh my God, I'm not the only one that has these feelings and thoughts. It's like, okay, this does all make sense. I'm not a crazy human, So that was something that really was important to me, and that, pulled along with me for the rest of my life, that, I feel fairly confident that's going to be with me the rest of my life, which might not have happened at all without, being, 13 to 21 years old in those formative years of my life.